What if Ned Stark was allowed to take the black? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
Put him down!
The world shrinks to steel. Sir Ilyn Payne raises ice, Lord Stark's own blade, both hands straining to lift its ancient weight. The sunlight crashes against the steel, dazzling. The crowd surges like a beast with 1,000 lungs. Screams, jeers, sobs, all tangled in one endless roar. Ned feels the sound more than he hears it, a reverberation in his ribs. He closes his eyes, murmurs a prayer he half remembers. He thinks of Winterfell, of snow and the godswood, of his children. Arya, gods, where is Arya? Sansa's shrill cry carries through the yard.
Mercy, please, mercy, your grace.
The crowd bellows like thunder. 1,000 voices drown the sept. The swing begins. And then,
Stop!
The shout isn't a plea, more like a command, ripped raw from lungs hardened by cold wind and black oath. It blasts through the noise, startling even the ravens perched on the sept's ledges. Heads snap toward the voice. The ragged crow has shouldered his way onto the steps, cloak flapping, eyes burning like coals. His voice rips again, louder and harsher.
Lord Stark has promised the wall.
The sword halts, just short of falling. Even Payne's dead eyes flicker toward the shout.
What?
The boy king is affronted that anyone would speak over him. Yoren plants himself on the stair, chest heaving, and bellows again, every word echoing through the yard.
Your Grace, the man was sentenced to the Night's Watch. The oath has been made. To break it is a shame to the crown.
The crowd murmurs, confession bleeding into the frenzy. Cersei raises halfway from her seat, face pale with fury. Littlefinger leans in, lips twitching at the drama. Varys tilts his head, listening with a spider's patience. Ned blinks, stunned, heart kicking against his ribs. Arya, buried in the throng, feels the world like a knife cutting the noose from her neck. But Joffrey hesitates. The boy king thrives on the eyes of the mob. He tastes the air, the shifting mood. The Watch's name has weight even here, even among the stink of the small folk. Pycelle totters forward, stroking his beard.
It is true, Your Grace. Lord Stark was to take the black. It is recorded.
The noise of the crowd surges again, but different now. Questions, uncertainty, a low wave of approval at the word mercy. Yoren seizes the moment, roaring again, pointing a black-nailed finger straight at Joffrey.
Show your people a king who keeps his word. Spare him. Send him to the wall.
Joffrey's jaw works furiously. He wants blood, and he wants it bad. But the sound of the crowd stirs him. Mercy can be another crown to wear. He puffs out his chest, fists tightening as he looks upon the crowd.
I am merciful. Lord Stark will take the black. He shall live, for now. If he leaves the wall, he dies.
The crowd erupts in a way that resembles relief, ragged and confused. Ned's chest caves with a shuddering breath. Ice clatters back down to Sir Ilyn's side, denied its feast. Sansa sobs in gratitude, sinking at the queen's feet. Arya squeezes between bodies, too shaken to breathe. Eyes locked on her father. Ned Stark lifts his head. He meets Joffrey's eyes, then Yoren's. Yoren only scowls, shoulders rolling as if the noise weighs on him. He fades back into the throng, but not before tossing Arya a look sharp enough to pin her to the ground. She goes still. The procession moves. Chains drag Ned to his feet. The chains bite into Ned's wrists as he's shoved into the prison cart. The roar of the crowd follows him like a storm cloud.
Move, traitor.
Ned doesn't answer. He lifts his eyes once, scanning the mass of faces. Somewhere in that crush, Arya is watching. He can feel her. The gates of King's Landing creak open. The cart lurches forward. The city's noise begins to fade into the clatter of wheels on stone. A shadow slides close. Yoren. He walks alongside. Cloak wrapped tight, eyes darting everywhere.
You breathe because the boy wanted to look kingly. Don't thank me. I'll thank you anyway.
The cart rattles through the fish market, past the stink of river and tar. The Black brothers ride with the column, their presence making the gold cloaks sneer, but obey. From under the cart's slats, a whisper.
Father!
Ned jerks, heart hammering. He sees her crouched between the walls, dirty and small, hair hacked short.
Arya, gods.
We can run. When the lane bends, I can climb. You can...
No, I swore I'd take the black.
You swore to Mother too. To come home.
I swore to keep you safe. That's all I can keep now.
Girl, you'll get killed twice over.
quiet.
Arya glares but bites her tongue. Yoren's eyes pin her, flintly and unyielding.
From this moment, you are not Arya Stark. You're Arya. Say it.
Ari.
Louder.
Ari.
Listen to him, Arya. He'll keep you alive.
Arya meets her father's eyes. She wants to argue, to scream, but the look on his face freezes her. It isn't weakness, it's finality. The cart clatters out of the river gate. King's Landing shrinks behind them, its towers fading into haze. Ned leans back against the planks, closing his eyes. Wind knives across the yard. The wall hangs over everything, a blue-black cliff swallowing the sky. The gate creaks. A cart rattles in, iron rings clanking. Black cloaks take the traces. Gold cloaks wheel their horses and ride south without looking back. Jon stands with a broom that suddenly feels like a spear he forgot how to hold.
Snow? Is that?
Jon drops the broom. He's already moving, boots slapping slush. Ned sits in the cart, thinner, colder, eyes steady. Chains ring when he shifts.
Father? Jon.
A shadow falls over them. Ravens wheeling overhead, the beat of wings like leather gloves snapping. Jorah Mormont crosses the yard, cloak heavy with black feathers, gaze harder than ice behind him.
Bring him down.
Two brothers lower the tailboard and catch Ned under the arms. He grimaces, but refuses to lean. His feet hit stone.
Castle Black keeps its oaths. You'll have fire, food, and the maester's hand.
My thanks, Lord Commander.
Jon can't help staring at the chafed band of skin at his father's wrists. A muscle jumps in his jaw.
Back to your work, boy.
Aye, my lord. Jon, it's all right. Do as he says.
Jon steps back, not far, never far. The cart lurches away toward the armory annex. He watches until it disappears around the corner, breath fogging in the air.
You good? No, but I will be.
Jon stays rooted in the yard, breath white in the wind. Beyond the gate, Ned is led into the stone and firelight, where a brazier hisses and steam curls from a bowl of broth. Maester Aemon's fingers are thin, but needle-precise. His blind eyes point past to Ned and never miss him.
Hold.
The maester wraps a strip of linen, sure and tight.
You've ridden hard. The fever nips, but hasn't bitten.
Ned exhales. He keeps still. Jorah Mormont stands in the doorway. Aemon ties off the bandage. His head turns toward Jorah's silence, as if it were sound.
I need words with the two of you. And with Jon. The boy stands with the rest tomorrow to say the words. If this is a father's meddling, it isn't. It's the realm's business.
So often it is.
Jorah studies him. The room seems to shrink around the weight of what isn't said. Jorah turns to one of his stewards.
Fetch Snow.
The door thuds shut behind the lad. The brazier pops. Aemon rests both hands on the table, listening to the silence Ned brings with him.
There's a name in your mouth you do not want to taste.
Ned almost smiles. It isn't humor.
There is.
Say it when the boy comes, not before.
The latch lifts. The sound of Jon's boot hitting the stone signals his arrival before they see him.
My lord, you sent for...
Jon stops dead when he sees Ned's hands unchained.
Sit, Jon.
Jon sits. His knees bounce once, then lock. Jorah closes the door eerily.
You were to take your vows tomorrow. Aye. You must wait.
Jon's breath leaves in a short laugh that isn't laughter.
I didn't come here to be a lord's problem. You came here to serve honor. That's what I mean to do. Then hold to it. By waiting. Why?
Ned looks to Aemon. Aemon inclines his head as if to say that the blade has to cut sometime.
Because you are not my bastard.
Everything in Jon's face goes still, but his eyes.
What? You're my sister's son, Lyanna.
Jon's mouth opens, but no sound comes.
She died in a bed of blood. I was with her. My mother? And my father?
Ned holds the name like a hot iron and sets it down anyway.
Rhaegar Targaryen.
Jorah's breath goes like a curse that doesn't need words. Aemon tilts his head toward a memory. Jon's laugh is small and wrong.
You can't... That's...
It fits.
Jon rounds on the old man, suddenly wary.
How could you know?
I did not know. I suspected. I have listened to the world a very long time, and I am Aegon Targaryen.
Jon looks back to Ned like a man trying to find the ground under a frozen lake.
All my life you let me... live. In lies. In safety. Robert would have killed you for breathing. She made me promise to protect you. I did what I needed to do to honor her memory.
John's hands curl on his knees until the knuckles pale.
Why now? Because the south is tinder, and fools are walking through it with torches. If you say the words tomorrow, you're the watchers until you die. If you wait, only a little, you might save men who will never know your name saved them. You're asking me to keep a boy from the vows because he might be useful to a realm that has forgotten we exist. I'm asking you to think like a commander who knows winter eats princes and peasants the same.
Aemon tilts his blind eyes toward the fire.
Most oaths are tested by the worst timing. John, if you say your oaths tomorrow, you will wear them true. If you wait a while, you may still wear them truer.
John stares at the brazier. Heat paints his face and does nothing to the cold inside.
If this is true, there will be proof. There may be. Somewhere. A sept's book. A sworn sword's testimony. The Tyrells keep gardens and records. Stannis keeps ledgers and laws. Between garden and ledger, truth can be cornered. Or it runs and we waste time chasing a ghost. If it runs, John speaks his word and nothing's lost but weeks. If it doesn't, men will try to use him. Better we choose who tries.
Jorah lets that grind. Aemon's fingers find parchment by memory. He flattens it beneath his palm.
Say the names. I will write.
Hold on. Boy, what do you want?
John answers without looking up.
I wanted the watch because it was clean. No fathers, no bastards, just the wall. I'll do what keeps men alive.
Jorah watches the answer settle like a stone.
A fortnight then. He waits. He trains. He keeps his mouth shut. If the dead come knocking, I put a spear in his hands and he stands like any other. Agreed? Agreed.
Agreed.
Aye.
Jorah jerks his chin at Aemon and puts a hand on the Maester's shoulder. The old man already has the quill in hand.
Dragonstone first.
To Stannis Baratheon. Not to flatter him, to bind him. If there's law in you, follow it here.
Aemon's quill scratches.
High Garden.
Not to Mace. To his mother, Olenna. If there is a record in your septs, find it. Quietly. The garden thrives in the shade. Winterfell. To Robb. Sit your sword. Hold your strength. Jaime is a coin. Spend him for peace, not pride.
The fire pops. Wax pools like red berries as Aemon seals the first letter.
What do we do if proof comes? What's next then? Then the truth becomes a lever. Where we set it decides what it moves. A lever for a crown? A lever for survival. Crowns topple on their own. I've seen them roll.
The door rattles with a gust. Snow slithers along the stones like spilled salt. A raven barks from the rookery above. Aemon ties twine with careful hands.
Words fly at first light.
John's shoulder lifts and falls. He looks at Ned as if memorizing a face he's always known and only now seeing true.
What am I supposed to call you now? Father still fits my ears. Aye.
Ned reaches. John meets him halfway. Bandage against callous, brief, volcanic.
Whatever men call you later, you were John to me. I'll train. I'll wait. I'll keep my mouth shut. Sweetest words I've heard this winter.
Aemon sets the sealed letters in a neat stack. His blind eyes seem to look straight through the wall.
When the moment comes, choose clean. Not easy. Clean.
I'll try.
Good. Try is the only word that lives long up here.
Jorah opens the door. Cold surges in like an army.
Snow. Yard. Sir Alistair will have your hide if you're late. Ah, my lord. Father, thank you for telling me. I should have done it sooner. We're here now.
John goes. The door shuts. The brazier sighs. Jorah picks up the letters, weighs them in his palms.
You've tossed meat into a dog yard, Stark. Pray the right dog bites first. I mean to leash a few.
They look at the sealed wax. Wolf pressed into one, a plain stamp on another, a bare knot on the third.
Winter presses its face to the glass, Lord Commander. Please do our work before it breathes.
Aemon sets his hand on Ned's shoulder for a heartbeat. The touch is light as frost.
Cruel mercies are still mercies.
I'll spend them all if it keeps my children breathing.
He doesn't blink. The brazier burns in his eyes like a tower on fire, distant and unyielding. The door groans open, cold rushing in to claim the warmth. Ned stays in the shadow as Jon steps back into the yard, breath white in the gray light. The wall looms above, fast and indifferent. Jon joins the line of boys with practice swords in hand. Steel flashes. Breath smokes, and Sir Alistair prowls between them like a hungry dog.
Again, Snow. If you weren't born to a name, you might yet earn one with your hands.
Jon sets his feet and brings his sword up as he makes his move. Pip leans in, whispering without moving his lips.
You look like someone stole your dinner and left you a crown. It feels uglier than that.
Blades ring. Snow hisses under boots. Above them, a raven hops along the ice-rimmed parapets and caws like laughter. Jon's eye flicks once toward the tower where he left his father and the truth. He drives the next cut clean. At first light the next morning, Aemon lifts a raven's leg, loops twine, and ties the dragonstone letter closed.
Fly straight.
He opens the hatch. Cold hits like a hand. The raven leaps into it and becomes a smaller piece of night. Another bird takes the letter for Oldtown's gardens. Another for the wolf in winter. Ned stays behind as the hatch shuts, the silence of stone closing in. He plants his palm flat on the table, breath steady, eyes on nothing. The door creaks. Yoren fills the frame, cloak dripping with blown snow.
You look worse in a firelight than you did in a cart. I feel better. Good. You'll need to. The girl's where she needs to be. Safe enough for now.
Ned's eyes flicker, then steady.
Thank you. Keep not saying it. Safer that way. I will.
Yoren jerks his chin toward the wall.
That thing doesn't care about crowns. No. Make sure the men who wear them learn to care about it.
He turns and goes, a shadow shaking snow from its shoulders before vanishing into the wind. Ned stays. The brazier hisses. The bandage itches. The wall hums like a frozen harp. The raven beats north into the snow and south into schemes. Riverrun's banner snaps in a river wind. Robb Stark stands over a table littered with stones and carved horses. Catelyn is at his shoulder. The Greatjon looms like a bear. Roose Bolton watches like a knife left in frost.
We've got the Kingslayer. We break the Lannister lines, march for the capital, and take the boy's head off his shoulders. They're clean as a trout.
And then what? Tywin's still in the field. Stannis and Renly circle like crows. The Riverlands burn while you chase a crown that cannot feed your men.
Or we send a finger back with Lannister signet and ask how much the Queen wants them whole.
Robb doesn't look at Theon. He moves a wolf figurine back from the fjords.
We didn't come south to play for the Iron Throne.
We came south to bring your father home. He breathes now, behind the wall's vows. King's Landing will not trade him back when it can let the cold do it.
He asked us for strength, not blood. Ned's letter says it plain. Keep your sword sheathed and your banners close. Leverage Jaime. Bring the North home whole.
Robb slides another stone aside, eyes leaving the board.
A raven from Winterfell this morning. Arya is within our walls. Safe.
Catelyn's breath stutters once and steadies.
Then we play for Sansa. And for passage.
If we march home, the lion hunts the river like a game field.
If we stay, Tywin pins us between himself and the Reach. We're not here to win every man's war. We're here not to lose our own.
Silence takes the room long enough to be an answer. The Greatjon's mouth quirks, disappointed but not surprised. Roose's eyes barely blink.
Send for Sir Kevin. Parley by the willow stumps at the fjord. If he won't come, we learn the shape of the road.
Terms.
Robb sets 3 pieces. Wolf, trout, lion. So they touch but do not mix.
The Kingslayer for Sansa. The Riverlands relieved. Safe passage north without pursuit. No fealty, no titles. Clean withdrawal. No hostages. We leave hostages. The lion thinks we've left our neck for him to lick. We take hostages. He thinks we came to stay.
Cub's thinking like a wolf.
Speak it.
I will.
Outside Riverrun's red stones, the Lannister canvas spreads like a rash. Sir Kevin Lannister meets Robb under a white flag between 2 winter-dead willows. The Tully River muttering close by. A ring of guards keeps the world honest.
You have something of ours. And you have something of mine.
Kevin's eyes are steady. the shade of a man who cleans messes he didn't make.
Say the terms. Jaime for Sansa. The Riverlands relieved. We go north unharmed, and you keep your swords south of the neck. No pledge to the boy king. You'll do well to bend the knee if you wish to have the other Stark girl back. The realm is in dispute. We have no taste for it. As for Arya, she's already in our care. You have no leverage.
Kevin's eyes sharpen, then flatten again. Businesslike. Kevin glances over Rob's shoulder. Great John's restlessness, Catelyn's controlled breath.
You withdrew your scouts from the West Road. Courtesy? Focus. I won my fight. And you think that is enough? Enough to get my sister home, and my men through Mount Caelan with their feet under them. You have bigger problems than my banners if you look behind you.
Kevin's mouth moves, almost a smile, gone before it arrives.
Renly and Stannis. You said it, not me.
Kevin weighs as his brother would, with the quiet gravity.
One girl, one Kingslayer. Sansa, whole and breathing. A signed pledge that your father pulls his dogs off the Riverlands. We turn a column north at sunrise. Dawn at the Trident's west bank. You hand him over, alive. Seen leaving our camp whole. And unmaimed. He's worth more whole, to both of us.
Kevin nods once, slow. He reaches inside his cloak and produces a square of folded parchment. Seal yellow with the lion's head.
My answer will meet you by moonrise. Make it fast.
They part with the heavy courtesy of enemies who understand each other, and hate that they do. Night comes, the moon cutting the battlements white. 2 quick horn notes, and a rider at the gate with a yellow seal. Sir Kevin's name is on the outside before the steward can speak. Robb breaks it.
Sansa Stark delivered at once to Riverrun's gates under Lord Stafford and Lady Falsey. Hostilities in the Riverlands cease upon exchange. Lannister banners withdraw to the Golden Road for terms of your march. Any molestation of our rear voids the agreement. He took it.
Catelyn's hands clutches her son's arm. Hard, once. Then lets go before she breaks him.
We'll need eyes along every mile north.
Mine will look without blinking. And we'll keep one hand on the wolf's throat if we're leading home. Jaime goes at dawn.
Dawn is iron cold. Jaime Lannister rides out with that infuriating smile that survives dragons. Lord Stafford looks hollow. Lady Falsey keeps her gaze down and jaw locked. Sansa stands on the drawbridge under the red fish. She is taller than Robb remembers and smaller in the face. She shakes when she sees Jaime, then steadies when she sees her brother.
Robb!
Sansa.
They do not embrace until the chains change hands. When they do, it is hard and narrow, bone, breath, and a tremor that finally breaks. Catelyn is there before they part, her hands on Sansa's cheeks, counting features like a prayer fulfilled.
Arya.
Home.
Sansa closes her eyes, opens them like she's learning to see again. Jaime looks at Robb over the exchange, eyes bright.
You're smarter than you look, and you're freer than you deserve. That part we agree on.
The gates settle behind Sansa Stark. The Lannister column turns, a gold ribbon unwinding from Riverstone, angling from the Gold Road. Robb's banners pivot like a flock, north into the winter that is theirs. Tywin Lannister takes the news in the field tent that smells of horse and oiled leather. Canvas walls muffle the word. Sir Kevin stands with his hands behind his back. Adam Marbrand leans over a map. Sir Gregor Clegane looms like a blunt instrument the gods forgot to put away.
He traded the Kingslayer for a girl.
And a free road. The Wolf's Tail is gone from our west. That puts our weight back on the capital.
Tywin's finger moves from Harrenhal's stump down to the Gold Road, then east to the Rose Road, then to the Blackwater, like a man dragging a knife through pastry.
Renly sits fat and reach with all his flowers. Stannis sits lean at Dragonstone counting rules. The wolf withdrawing leaves both thinking I will move on Riverrun. I will not.
Gregor grunts, disappointed at a fight not happening in front of him.
We will make the kings fight each other. How? Renly wants the city clean and quiet. He will march on the Rose Road to the Blackwater and ring his banners round King's Landing like a wedding garland. Marbrand will send raiders east to harry the Rose Road. Burn fodder, poison wells, knock down ferry planks. Annoy, don't engage. Show them we're in 2 places at once. And Stannis, leave him his birthright to chase. Send word to Storm's End that we strengthen their garrison with gold and grain if they hold. A whispered pulse in the right Florent ear says Stannis' claims begin with sieges. He will split to take the castle that shamed his youth. He'll divide his strength, and I will be where they meet and choke.
He lifts a small pot with a wax seal and sets it beside the Blackwater.
Cersei has been busy arming our alchemists. If Renly tries to float a garden up the river will catch fire.
Gregor's grin is slow, wolfish. Adam's mouth is thin. Kevin says nothing and watches his brother add green flame to a blue line. A raven veers east, black over the sea spray. Salt stings its wings as it drops into a camp lashed to the coast. Black banners snap in the gale. Davos cuts the twine and hands the scroll to Stannis Baratheon. Stannis reads. The jaw ticks. He looks to Melisandre with exhaustion of a man forever choosing between the road and the fire.
He claims the boy, Snow, has Targaryen blood.
He does not claim. He confesses.
Confession is proof to a septon, not a king.
A dragon and a wolf met where water ran red. A promise cut her palm. The child came crowned in blue winter. The fire shows me this.
Truth or no? What's your play, my lord? The realm won't bend because Aleti says please.
I do not bend. I make straight. If the boy has king's blood.
All kings are made of such blood. One is chosen.
I am chosen.
I have said as much.
Then this boy is a piece.
Pieces break when you push them too far. And the Stark boys hit the wall with Black brothers. He won't be yours any more than the night is.
Stannis looks back to Ned's demand. If there is law in you, follow it here.
Law says prove it.
The flames say it.
Find me a marriage. Paper, sept, sword's oath. Something that does not burn when I'm staring at it.
The fire will show the road.
They never show the turn until after I've missed it. So Davos, we split. I march along the coast road with half, to cut Renly's belly if he turns inland. The other half sails to Storm's End, and throws a noose back over my own shame.
Aye, my lord. But split armies starve quicker than whole ones.
So do split kings.
He turns away from the flame, and letter, as if both offend him for existing. South, a raven glides over green hills and lands in Highgarden's soft light. Olenna Tyrell breaks the wolf wax with a rose thorn. Marjorie reads aloud.
He asks that we search our sept archives for record of a marriage between Prince Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. Quietly.
Quietly is a word men use when they mean dangerously with taste. Rhaegar was a hummingbird with a poet's jaw.
A scandal. We are loyal to Renly. This rummaging in sept attics is beneath us.
Nonsense. It's exactly at our level. We plant, we prune, we harvest. Sometimes the fruit is paper. Send word to the starry sept's deepest stacks. And Maidenpool, quiet scepters gossip best on parchment.
If we find it, if it's true, do we crown a boy in black furs and dragon blood?
We crown our interests. Perhaps on his head, perhaps on someone standing next to him holding a garland.
I'll write then.
And a note to Stannis, needling him about records. He loves law. Let him choke on it.
We will not betray Renly.
We'll position Renly near victory, whichever way victory turns.
The Rose Road smokes. Renly's banners stream bright as summer, but move like a parade that forgot it's at war. Raiders nip and vanish. Ferries are ropes and ash. Shadow fords deepen overnight under the lion's hands.
Break the baggage into packets. 2 carts per company. Cavalry screens on flanks. I want scouts on every hedge, and inside every hedge.
See? Doing. Ferry burned at Sember's Crossing. There's a fjord upriver, but the banks are soft.
Soft means slow. Slow means dead.
Then we make it hard with boards.
We brought banners. We needed carpenters.
They cross anyway. The water bites thighs. Horses slip. Men curse. Loras yanks a pikeman from the current by the scruff. On the far bank, the brush grows a face and becomes Gregor Clegane. Gregor's riders fall like a wall, all hooves and iron. The first line crumples. The second staggers. Loras wheels with a handful of knights and rams a hole with anger.
Pikes! Forward! Shields up! Hold the line! Hold!
Renly's green cloak whips as he chooses to be seen, teeth flashing in a grin that's more helmet than joy.
With me!
They shove through blood and mud and manage to stand. Gregor rips what he can and peels off, contemptuous, counting bodies as a kind of receipt. By dusk, Renly's across, but thinner. On the far shore, 1,000 small, patient Lannister fires blink like cat eyes. Then comes the green. A flicker, then another. A seam of witchlight running under the sky. Wildfire takes air and men at once. It clings, screams, spawn other screams. Tents leap alight before the sparks reach them. Boats turn to ash. Tarly's orders are iron over hell.
Cut the lines! Cut them! Stamp with shields! Stamp! Move the powder away from the bank. Archers to the rear. Shoot the shadows that shoot us.
Adam Marbrand's archers answer from the darkness across the glowing water, not seeking glory, just slow arithmetic. One more man down, one more horse without a rider. By dawn, the camp still exists, though much smaller. The river steams like a sated beast.
We're done dancing with their river. We turn inland.
Inland means no granaries, no wagons, no wells. You cut yourself off from supply.
Then we'll take what we need. Fields, villages, whatever feeds men better than mud and wildfire.
This is when Stannis Baratheon made his move. Half his hosts remained with him on the coast road, grinding forward in grim silence. The other half he loosed like a whetstone against an old wound. Ships hugged the storm-lashed bay, sails low, carrying men and engines to Storm's End. The fortress that had starved him once would not be left standing to mock him again. Word of the split traveled fast. Ravens outpaced horse, and by the time Renly's banners reached Bitterbridge, the ink was still wet on Stannis' orders. Renly read the message with a smile that hid strain. To let his brother strangle Storm's End unopposed would be weakness. To divide his own strength to match it was folly, but folly draped in banners can still look like power. He sent Loras with nearly half their strength back toward the Stormlands, cloaked in green roses and promises of swift relief. The gardens that had seemed endless now stood divided. Its color bled across two fronts. Tywin Lannister had been waiting for this moment. Where Renly saw family rivalry, Tywin saw calculation coming to fruition. The attack came with precision. Adam Marbrand's cavalry cut off Renly's foragers. Gregor Clegane swept through the baggage train like a storm tearing roofs from houses. What had been a host of 40,000 shrank to chaos. Renly himself was caught in the press near Bitterbridge, bright cloak tangled in the mud. His household knights ringed and dying one by one. They brought him alive to Tywin's tent. The air smelled of parchment, steel, and contempt. There was no trial, no speech, no crowning mockery. Tywin did not need theatrics. He needed a corpse. Within the week, Renly Baratheon was executed on Lannister order. His body returned under banner of truce, more message than man. The Reach mourned loudly, but moved quietly. Marjorie's smile became thinner, Olenna's words sharper. With Renly gone, their loyalties were roots seeking new soil. Bitterbridge became a place of funerals and weddings whispered in the same breath. Tywin had cut down a king, and in doing so, opened the board for alliances more dangerous than Renly's banners had ever been. In the Reach, Olenna Tyrell's fingers tightened on the Raven's letter as she read. In the dim tent light, Marjorie watches her grandmother's eyes sharpen. The words from Old Town's archives are clear. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen's marriage to Elia Martell was annulled, and a new marriage was recorded in secret to Lyanna Stark. A son was born of that union, a son who lived.
So it's true. Jon Snow is Rhaegar's heir.
True as Tywin's treachery. The boy has dragon's blood and Ned Stark's raising. A dangerous mix. Or a promising one.
Marjorie's throat tightens at the mention of treachery. Renly's death still weighs on her. She thinks of the crown that slipped away, and what this new truth might mean for her own fate. Olenna pats her hand, surprisingly gentle.
We've lost one king. Best not to wallow. The next is out there. If the winds blow that way, we'll make sure he has a Tyrell by his side.
Jon Snow, a brother of the Night's Watch. Will the realm ever accept him?
The realm will accept what keeps it fed and safe. A true-born Targaryen with the Reach behind him can claim the Iron Throne, especially with a clever young Rose as his queen.
Marjorie draws a breath, understanding her grandmother's meaning. Hope and ambition spark in her eyes. Olenna nods once.
Quietly now. Lannister ears are everywhere. We'll move with care.
Outside, the Tyrell camp still mourns Renly in hushed tones. But inside this tent, resolve takes root. Olenna calls for parchment and quill. The Rose must act swiftly. Ravens will fly tonight. One to the wall, and one to Dragonstone. In Storm's End, following a successful siege and surrender of the Baratheon birthplace, Stannis Baratheon holds a crackling letter over a brazier, the flames painting his face in an angry orange. His jaw is clenched so tightly it might be carved from stone. Davos Seaworth stands at his shoulder, hands clasped behind his back, anxious and silent.
First Eddard Stark's raven, and now this from Iregarden. They shove their secrets under my nose and expect me to yield.
He glares at the lion again, the words searing more than fire. Rhaegar's trueborn son lives, hidden as Jon Snow.
If Lady Olenna sends such word, she must be sure of it. The Tyrells don't risk themselves for a lie. They must see some gain. Perhaps a crown for Marjorie in time.
Stannis makes a low, displeased noise in his throat. The parchment edges curl as he holds it to the brazier.
The Tyrell girl marries one king. Now they pawn her off to another. They're quick to find a new master. And by law, it seems the Iron Throne is not mine to claim.
He spits the words out. Davos sees his king's shadow dance on the tent wall, rigid with rage and something like despair.
Your Grace, Lord Stark would not send this if it were not true. Not with stakes so high.
I see truth in this boy's blood. A bright shadow in the snow, bleeding through the flames. He has king's blood, yes, but he is not the prince that was promised. You are, Your Grace.
Stannis' fists tighten around the hilt of his sword. Anger wars with uncertainty in his icy blue eyes.
What would you have me do then? Ignore the law and press my claim regardless? Set aside duty and kill a boy who never even sought out a crown?
You swore to defend the realm against false claimants. If Jon Snow is truly Rhaegar's son, then our war is with the Lannisters, not with him. He's no enemy to us.
Stannis draws a long breath, the muscles in his neck working. He stares into the brazier as if seeking answers in the coals. At last, he gives one hard, curt nod.
We will verify these claims. If they are proven beyond all doubt, I will not be a usurper.
Melisandre's ruby glimmers, but she says nothing, watching Stannis with an unreadable gaze. Relief softens Davos' shoulders. He hadn't realized he was holding his breath. Stannis lets the scorched letter drop into the brazier. Ash flakes upward like gray snow.
Davos, send a raven to Castle Black. Tell Lord Stark I require proof of his own hand. If he gives me truth, I will speak on how to deal with the Lannisters. And with this, Jon Snow.
At once, Your Grace.
As Davos hurries into the salty night air, Stannis remains by the fire, eyes fixed on the burning parchment. The flames reflect in his hard stare. He has the look of a man who sees his destiny twisting away on a path he didn't choose, and who means to drag it back on course, or die trying. For now, that fiery gaze turns toward King's Landing, and the false boy king who still sits the Iron Throne. At Castle Black, dawn breaks thin and cold. Jon Snow stands in the small courtyard, a rolled letter in his gloved hands. He reads the message from Highgarden twice over by lamplight, and his gloved fingers still tremble. Ned Stark watches his son, his sister's son, carefully. Frost crinkles under their boots.
Everything you told me, it's true. They found proof.
Old Town's records leave no doubt. Rhaegar and Lyanna were wed in secret. You were their true-born son, Jon. The world will know it now.
Jon exhales and looks up at the sky, eyes shining with a bewildering mix of relief and dread. A bastard's name was the only one he ever thought he'd carry. Now even that is gone.
Not a bastard. All my life, I wondered who I was, what that made me.
Nearby, Master Aemon folds his hands atop the head of his cane, blind eyes turned toward Jon's voice.
Who you are does not change, Jon. You have the same heart you did yesterday. Only what the realm believes about you has changed.
Jon nods slowly, Aemon's gentle words steadying him. Ned steps closer and rests a hand on Jon's shoulder. The dawnlight picks out the hint of tears that Jon quickly blinks away.
You have the strongest claim to the Iron Throne, son. By right of blood and name, it could be you wearing the crown. I've only ever wanted to find my place. I thought it was here, on the wall.
I know, but the realm may need you when the time comes. I hid your name to keep you safe. Now we bring it to light to keep the kingdom safe.
Jon feels the weight of duty settling on him, as real as the cold. He thinks of Robb and his sisters in Winterfell, of little Rickon and Bran, of the war still raging in the south. All of it could crash upon them if he's not ready. He squares his shoulders.
If this is what I am, then I'll use it. I'll do my duty. I'll help, however I can.
Ned's grip tightens, pride warming the hard lines of his face. He allows himself the smallest, most sorrowful smile. Ned pulls Jon into a brief embrace, father and son despite all titles. When they part, Ned's eyes shine. Outside, on the rim-frosted yard, brothers of the Night's Watch lead 3 ravens out of the rookery. The birds climb into the pale sky, veering south. They carry Lord Stark's gratitude and a solemn praise to Highgarden and Dragonstone. The truth is found, and it will be used. Within a month, whispers of Jon Snow's true parentage spreads through the highest circles of the realm. Ravens flit back and forth between Highgarden and Dragonstone as the Queen of Thorns and the Just King forge a wary alliance. In secret letters and late-night councils, they strike a pact that alters the shape of the war. The Tyrells will lend their swords and their plentiful grain to Stannis' cause against the Lannisters. In exchange, Stannis Baratheon will acknowledge Rhaegar Targaryen's son as the rightful heir once victory is secured. One condition seals the accord. Marjorie Tyrell will wed Jon Snow, binding Highgarden's rose to the reborn dragon of House Targaryen, while Stannis will be named Hand of the King. Far to the south, in the Red Keep of King's Landing, Tywin Lannister sits at the head of the small council table, fingers steepled under his chin. Candlelight licks at the edge of his hard face. Cersei paces near the window, tension coiled in every step. News has arrived on Raven's wings, each message grimmer than the last. Mace Tyrell's banners have turned cloak and joined Stannis Baratheon. The Reach's grain and swords now feed Stannis' host. Highgarden and Dragonstone have made common cause. Tywin's green eyes flick over the parchment in his hand, the Tyrell seal broken and discarded. Kevan Lannister stands at his shoulder, dutiful and silent. Grand Maester Pycelle clears his throat, the sound quavering.
Lord Hand, the missive from Highgarden, I've read it.
He tosses the parchment onto the table. It skids to a stop before Cersei's restless hands. She snatches it up, scanning. Her face blanches with rage.
Treachery. The Queen of Thorns dares.
Dares to do what is smart. She's hedging her bets, as always.
His voice is level, but a muscle ticks in his jaw. He knows the stakes. With the Tyrells and Baratheons united, the Lannisters stand alone. The letter's implications are clear enough. Highgarden will support Stannis in removing usurpers, meaning Joffrey, in favor of some hidden Targaryen heir. Cersei slams the parchment down, the golden curls at her brow trembling with fury.
They name Jon Snow, of all people, Eddard Stark's bastard, claiming he's Rhaegar's son. Lies. Absurd.
If the Reach and Dragonstone believe it, lie or not, they will use it to rally others. Already some of Renly's former bannermen declare for this boy.
Tywin's face is unreadable. He taps one finger on the polished table.
We will not sit idle while our enemies assemble at our gates. If Stannis wants a war of succession, we'll give him one. On our terms.
He rises, silk and steel glimmering in the torchlight. With Renly Baratheon dead and Robb Stark withdrawing north, Tywin has clawed the realm back from the brink before. He will do so again, but he needs swords, more than the dwindling Lannister host and what remains of Joffrey's gold cloaks. Tywin crosses to the map hung on the wall, studying the painted lands of Westeros. His fingertip drags east, across the narrow sea, to the disputed lands where exiled sellswords dream of gold and glory.
The Golden Company.
Cersei's pacing halts. She stares at her father. Even Pycelle looks up sharply.
Sellswords? Father, no sellsword company can stand against the might of Highgarden and Dragonstone. We need
seasoned swords. Quickly and without question. The Golden Company is the largest, and they do not break contracts. I can buy us an army where loyalty failed.
Kevin's lips press thin, but he nods in reluctant agreement.
It will be costly. So is losing. Grand Maester Pycelle, prepare a raven for Essos. Promise the Golden Company whatever coin it takes. Double their usual price. Land them at the Blackwater by month's end.
Pycelle bows as low as his old back allows and shuffles to the draft table. Cersei opens her mouth to protest further, but Tywin fixes her with a glare like a drawn blade.
See to Joffrey's safety. He is still a king, and he will act like one. No rash outbursts. Sir Barros, Sir Meryn, you guard his grace night and day. No one enters his chambers without my leave.
Cersei's nails bite crescents into her palms, but she dips her head, bottled fury in every movement.
As you say, Father.
I will not have the boy king provoking a riot in the streets. We need the city calm until our reinforcements arrive.
He strides toward the door, giving his final orders without looking back.
Kevan, gather every able man to the walls. I want oil heated, stones piled. If the Tyrells and Stannis mean to siege us, then they'll pay for every inch.
Tywin pauses at the threshold, hand on the doorframe. For a moment, his confident mask slips into something colder. more dangerous.
And find me that eunuch Varys. He's vanished when I need his whispers most.
Likely fled at the first sign of trouble, the coward.
Tywin only grunts. Varys' disappearance troubles him. There are too many threads weaving unseen, but the matter is tabled for now. He has got a war to win first. As Tywin departs, Cersei crushes the Reach's letter in her fist. The realm may well bleed in the coming months, but House Lannister will not go quietly into its grave. Not while Tywin Lannister commands, and not while a drop of Lannister gold can buy swords to defend the throne. Across the narrow sea, on the deck of a creaking galley, young Griff, Aegon Targaryen, rolls a worn parchment between his fingers. The seal bears the golden lion of Lannister. Beside him stands Jon Connington, his griffin mentor, red hair gone mostly gray, his face lined with years of exile and longing. They have anchored in the Bay of Pentos under the cover of twilight. Aegon's jaw clenches as he reads Tywin's offer again. The Lannister promises mountains of gold and land to the Golden Company in exchange for their swords against Stannis Baratheon and the Tyrells. It is an offer meant for the ears of the company's captain, Harry Strickland, and for Aegon, though Tywin does not yet know that young Griff exists, let alone leads the Golden Company's true ambitions.
He asks us to save his throne for him. The arrogance. No, he asks us to save his grandson's throne, never imagining we might take it instead.
By contract, the Golden Company has not yet accepted Tywin's deal, but ravens have flown to their benefactor in Pentos, the Magister Illyrio Mopentis, who has long bankrolled Aegon's cause, and Illyrio's response came swiftly. Sail west, take the Iron Throne that is your birthright. Jon Connington sets a hand on Aegon's shoulder, fatherly pride and concern mingling in his eyes.
We planned to land in secret, build support, but this is a chance to strike at the heart while all sides clash. A wildfire war, one we can use.
Aegon unfurls a map of Westeros on a barrel. His fingers trace the Stormlands coast, the stone-step path of Aegon, the Conqueror's landing long ago.
We won't march in as Tywin's mercenaries. We sail for the Stonelands first, as planned. Griffin's Roost will open its gates when Lord Connington returns, and others will rally when they see the banners of House Targaryen unfurled.
Connington's breath hitches at the thought of reclaiming his ancestral home, Griffin's Roost. He nods firmly.
We'll have the Golden Company take the castle, secure a foothold. From there, you decide our next move, Your Grace.
He uses the royal honorific with quiet reverence. Aegon has been raised for this moment, to restore his house. Aegon's bright lilac eyes harden with resolve.
Next move is west to King's Landing. Tywin will think his sellswords are coming to aid him. He'll not know until it's too late that they carry the rightful king in their midst.
He can almost see it, the gates opening from within. Gold cloaks dropping their swords when they see the dragon sigil returning after so long. Perhaps even the small folk, tired of boy kings and famine, will cheer a Targaryen. The thought sets his heart pounding. Nearby, under the stripped pavilion on deck, the Golden Company's commander, Harry Strickland, sharpens his sword. He glances up, watching Aegon and Connington with something like fond pity.
The men are restless. Half of them want Lannister gold. The other half want Targaryen restoration. All of them want to set foot in Westeros and fill their purses.
Aegon steps over, folding the map. He meets Strickland's eyes.
They'll have gold and glory. Once I sit the Iron Throne, every man in the Golden Company will be paid twice what Lord Tywin offers, and pardoned for any past loyalties. No more exile. And Westeros it is. A Blackfire founded our company, and a Targaryen means to pay its dues. The contracts are aligned, lad.
He claps Aegon on the shoulder, informal but approving. The Golden Company's famous words run through Aegon's mind. Beneath the gold, the bitter steel. The bright gold dragons of old Valyria on their banner fly home for now, and the bitter steel of exiles will win him a kingdom. Aegon turns his gaze westward, toward the dark horizon where dawn will soon break. Beyond that darkness lies Westeros, his home, though he's never walked its roads. He imagines the Iron Throne, cold swords twisted together, waiting for a true king's claim.
I'll take what's mine, and any pretender who stands in my way will bend the knee or fall.
Connington watches the young man's profile outlined by starlight. A prince he's groomed from childhood, now hardened into a commander. In that moment, Connington allows himself a spark of hope he's guarded for years.
For Rhaegar, and for the realm.
They clasp arms. The order is given. With midnight sails unfurled, the Golden Company's fleet slips out of Pentos Harbor like shadows over the water, bound for the storms and destiny beyond. On the deck of a great ship cutting across the summer sea, Daenerys Targaryen stands with ocean winds whipping her silver gold hair. At her side, Sir Barristan Selmy holds a steadying hand near her elbow. In the skies above, a shriek splits the dawn. One of her dragons, Rhaegal, soaring and circling the mast before diving seaward after a gull. Dany's other dragons answer with thunderous calls. Viserion's ivory scales glint in the morning's light as he perches atop the foremast, and Drogon, the great black dragon, flies further out over the waves, a shadow against sunlit clouds. The sight of them still fills Daenerys with awe and fierce pride. Her children. She closes her eyes, letting the spray of salt mist her face. In her hand is a scrap of parchment, edges curled from the sea air. News travels strange paths across the world. This parchment was pressed into her hand by a Carthene trader 2 days ago in Volantis, with tales of war in Westeros. At first, she thought it was a ploy, until she reads the names. The letter spoke of a secret son of Rhaegar Targaryen coming forth to claim the Iron Throne, of the Golden Company landing, of the last Lannister lions cornered. It whispered, too, of another, a silver-haired girl with 3 dragons, the whispers that had followed her across Essos, now reaching her homeland. Dany crumples the letter against her breast. Westeros, the home she's never seen, finally beckons. Her claim, her birthright, denied her since she was a baby, is now within reach, if she is bold enough to take it. Yet, she is not the only contender.
Rhaegar's son, if he lives, if he truly lives.
Your Grace, a word of caution. Letters from Westeros can be as poisonous as they are informative. This could be Varys' ploy, or Illyrio's, or even a Lannister trap to lure you. Dany turns to the old knight who had once served her father. He has counseled patience, caution, honor, but her blood is afire now. Dragons have been born again. Her dragons, and no one will keep her from what is hers. Still, she trusts Barristan's counsel.
Perhaps. But if there is even a chance that my brother's son lives, I will not let another usurper steal the throne from my family. And if it's a murmurs dragon, a pretender, then I will set him and his paper throne ablaze myself.
Sir Barristan bows his head.
As you say, Your Grace. We'll know the truth soon enough.
The black wind howls across the icy battlements of Castle Black. High above, the shining scythe of the moon casts its pale light on a column of riders preparing to depart through the gate in the wall. Eddard Stark sits atop a sturdy garron at the head of the column, cloaked in the thick furs of the Night's Watch. His gray eyes scan the darkness beyond the wall, where endless forests and unforgiving frosts await. This is the Great Ranging, the largest expedition of the Night Watch's living memory. Then Ned Stark rides with them into the unknown. Lord Commander Jair Mormont gives the signal, and the massive gate creaks open. Torchlight dances on cold stone as 200 black-clad brothers file out into the night. Among them rides Ned, jaw set with determination. He swore a new oath to guard the realms of men, and tonight he will face what that truly means. They advance beyond the wall into the haunted forest silence. For days, they push north, searching for lost rangers in the reported vast wildling host. Ned finds himself recalling old campfire stories of the others, tales he used to dismiss as fables. But as the rangers discover village after village of wildlings left eerily abandoned, grim fear settles into Ned's chest. At one hamlet, called White Tree, they find only a ring of severed heads mounted on spears, arranged in a sinister spiral on the blood-stained snow. Seasoned rangers mutter uneasily about the White Walkers. Ned says nothing, but his hand tightens around the hilt of his sword. The old stories are coming to life before his eyes. One freezing pre-dawn at the Fist of the First Men, a windswept hill the Watch takes camp at. The enemy reveals itself. It begins with an onslaught of inhuman shrieks from the darkness. The dead men attack. They emerge from the tree line in terrifying silence. Dozens at first, then hundreds of walking corpses with eyes blazing ice blue. The Night's Watchmen form ranks around their camp, steel in hand. Ned fights shoulder to shoulder with brothers half his age, driving his sword through flesh that should long be dead. Limbs and heads are hewn from bodies, but still the dead come on. Some brothers fall, screaming as pale hands pull them apart. Others, slain in moments, rise back up with that same cursed blue light in their eyes. Ned has never seen such horror. He cleaves a snarling wight in two, only for its upper body to claw at his legs. A hulking shadow, a reanimated giant, he realizes with dread, smashes through their lines, scattering men like ragdolls. Over the chaos, Ned hears Lord Commander Mormont bellow,
Fall back! To the south! Fall back!
Bleeding and exhausted, the survivors of the attack stagger through the forest for days, hounded by the living shadows. Less than a quarter of the original force remains when at last the wall's icy silhouette looms into view again. By some mercy, the dead did not pursue onto the open ground this far south, as if an unseen boundary holds them back for now. At Castle Black's gate, Black brothers haul their wounded comrades in, and Maester Aemon rushes to tend frostbitten and torn men. Inside the warmth of the common hall, beneath the glowering direwolf banners that still hang from his time as Warden of the North, Ned addresses the ragged survivors.
We have seen the true enemy. The White Walkers of old are real, and they are coming.
No one doubts his word. Too many witnessed the carnage. Lord Commander Mormont grimly nods and places a heavy hand on Ned's shoulder. The old bear's face is ashen from loss and shock, but he manages to speak firmly.
We must warn the realms of men. Every king, every lord. The war for the throne must cease, or none of us will live to sit one.
Ravens are already flying to every corner of Westeros, carrying the Lord Commander's plea. Unite against the common doom. Yet Ned knows letters alone will not suffice. Too many southern lords ignored the watch. Too many kings are too busy vying for a throne of swords. Mormont summons Ned at dawn a day later. The Lord Commander's raven flaps on his shoulder as he speaks.
Neddard, you are still a Stark of Winterfell to many in the south. Ride to Jon at the siege of King's Landing. Tell him what you've seen here. He must know.
Ned bows his head, understanding what is being asked. Though he is bound by oath to the wall, this is his duty, to protect the realm by whatever means necessary.
I will go. I will make them see reason. Jon will listen. This I promise.
Below decks, the creak and groan of rigging mixes with the shouts of sailors and the guttural language of the Unsullied giving commands. Dany has a modest force. No great Khalasar, but a company of Unsullied spears stand ready in the hold, and a handful of sail sails guard the ship's wheel. It is not the might of Highgarden or Castley Rock, but she has 3 dragons and the name Targaryen. Many believe that's enough. Dany looks west, where the sky grows brighter. Dragonstone, her birthplace, lies ahead beyond the haze of sea. She had commanded the captain to steer first to that drear island. Dragonstone was the last place House Targaryen held before Robert took the crown. It will be the first place she sets foot in Westeros. From there, she will gather what loyalists remain and press on to King's Landing.
They will know a dragon has returned, Sir Barristan. All of them.
Above, Drogon swoops low, passing so close the wind of his wings kicks up waves. Dany reaches out a hand, and Drogon roars, a plume of flame into the empty sky, as if answering her unspoken determination. The dragon's cry echoes over the waters, fire and blood. The last Targaryen princess sails toward war, and behind her follow fire and shadow. King's Landing, once a city of 1,000,000 souls, now waits with breath bated and gates barred. Outside the mighty walls, the land ripples with the banners of war. The golden rose of Highgarden and the fiery heart of Dragonstone fly side by side over a sprawling siege camp to the south of the city. Tarly's strident horn calls of Florent, pennants flutter aside the green ocean of the Tyrell levies. Soldiers in Baratheon stag helms drill beside cavalry in Tyrell green. It is an alliance born of urgency and ambition. Within the Red Keep, Tywin Lannister stands atop the Barbican, gazing out at the enemy lines. From this distance, the encircling host looks like a many-colored carpet spread over the plains. Siege towers crawl forward, being assembled from felled trees. Catapults are being wheeled into position. Tywin's jaw tightens. He had hoped for more time for the Golden Company to arrive, but the sellswords are late. Every dawn that breaks without their sails on the horizon is another crack in Tywin's iron confidence. Below him, on the battlements, Joffrey Baratheon, his grandson, struts in gilded armor, yelling orders at a group of archers. The boy's voice cracks, equal parts petulance and malice. King or not, Joffrey's presence inspires more scorn than loyalty from the seasoned men manning the walls. A crossbow hangs from Joffrey's shoulder. He lifts it occasionally to loose a quarrel at nothing, perhaps imagining his traitor enemies skewered by his hand. Tywin steps down and a wave before Joffrey can notice him. He had no patience for the boy's antics today. As he descends into the yard, a clatter of hooves echoes off the walls. Sir Adam Marbrand galloped through the mud and dismounts, breathless. Tywin meets him, and the look on Marbrand's face is enough to send a cold weight into his gut.
Report, my lord. A new army approaches from the east. Banners unfamiliar, golden banners with a black fire. They've landed at Massey's Hook 2 nights past, and are already on the march.
Tywin's eyes narrow. Golden banners with black fire. The Golden Company, at last. But black fire, that sigil. A chill drifts over his skin, memory tugging at him. The Blackfire rebels of old used a similar sigil.
They come to join us.
Unclear, my lord. They flew a banner of golden dragons as well. They are making for the city, but they've made no attempt to send a messenger to us. They attacked and routed a Lannister outrider force at Hayford.
A spark of alarm jolts through Tywin's chest, though his face remains granite.
Attacked Lannister men. The fools. Perhaps they mistook our riders for Stannis.
Perhaps. There are rumors in the camp, my lord, that they're led by a Targaryen prince, Aegon, son of Rhaegar.
Tywin's gauntlets creak as his fists clench. The secret he had dismissed as stark slander now springs alive from two sides. One Targaryen in the enemy camp, Jon Snow, if that tale holds true, and another arriving with sellswords at his back. The murmurs in this farce multiply.
Have the gates manned and the men ready at east and south walls. We'll soon have a battle of 3 kings on our hands, it would seem.
Aye, my lord.
Tywin storms off to the inner castle. His calculated plan is unraveling. He silently curses the Golden Company, those faithless, double-dealing mongrels, if they truly mean to fight against him. But he will not yield. If a Targaryen boy thinks to turn the city of the Lion into his den, he'll find nothing but swords and teeth waiting. By nightfall, King's Landing sits under a ring of fire. To the south, the campfires of Stannis and Tyrell speckled to the dark. To the east, new fires burn. The Golden Company's vanguard encamped along the King's Road approach. The city is all but surrounded. Only the Blackwater Bay to the north remains open, patrolled by a small Lannister fleet. And in the far distance, on those black waters, shapes move, lantern lights bobbing on masts. More ships arriving under cover of darkness. They are Daenerys Targaryen's ships. Silently, they drop anchor off the coast by the mouth of the bay, behind a cape of dragonstone. Longboats slip out, cutting through the gentle waves toward the dark shore near the city seawall. In one boat stands Dany herself, pale hair hidden under a gray hooded cloak. Beside her, Ser Jorah Mormont rose with quiet strength, and Missandei clutches a small parcel of dragon eggshell and powdered spices, an old ritual to call the Lord of Light's favor that a red priestess taught them in passing. Dany isn't sure she believes in it, but she takes no chances tonight. Overhead, a passing shadow, Drogon keeping watch from the skies. Her other dragons have been strangely restless since they neared the bay. Viserion and Rhaegal circle high above, beyond sight, as if drawn by something inland. Dany doesn't worry. Her children roam as they will, but they always return to her call. The boats reach a lonely stretch of shore beneath the city's looming cliffs. Dany disembarks, boots sinking into wet sand. The massive outline of King's Landing rises above, and on the highest hill she can make out a glimmer of the Red Keep's ramparts. Home, at last. She has no intention of launching a suicidal attack on those walls. Not yet. Instead, Dany's small party scrambles to the base of an old smuggler's gate, one of the many hidden entrances along the cliffs. Varys had once whispered to her of such secrets. Whether that spider truly fled or simply skitters in the shadows, his knowledge serves her now. With careful motions, Jorah presses the gate open. The hinges have rusted but eventually yield. One by one, Daenerys and her followers slip into the belly of the city unnoticed. Dawn breaks, blood orange and unforgiving, over what may be the last day of the siege. The new day reveals 3 camps poised to devour each other. The Baratheon Tyrell host to the south, bristling with siege towers ready to roll at King's Landing's wall. The Golden Company to the east, formed up behind rows of mercenary elephants and mounted archers beneath a forest of dragon banners. And the city itself, holding the proud Lannister lion on its ramparts, tense as a cornered beast. From the Baratheon command tent, Jon Snow steps out into the dawnlight. Or perhaps he is Jon Targaryen now. He hardly knows what to call himself in his own mind. Around him, lords and knights stir awake, armor clinking, breath misting in the chill. They call him Your Grace sometimes, which still feels foreign. Jon's presence here is the result of a raven-winged diplomacy and hurried travel. At Castle Black, when the proof of his parentage came to Stannis Baratheon, he offered alliance. The Night's Watch brothers released him from his half-sworn duty. Jon never spoke the final vows. The old bear Mormont himself said the wall could spare him for the greater battle. So Jon rode south, escorted by a cadre of Queensmen and Reach riders who had come to ferry the new claimant. Now he stands clad in plate and mail of dark gray and Targaryen black, a direwolf emblem still on his breast, but a red three-headed dragon on his cloak. The Starks of Winterfell sent that cloak. Catelyn Stark's doing, a gesture of acceptance for Lyanna's son. Jon wears both sigils, as living proof of the union of ice and fire. He looks over the field at the enemy, the city that was once the heart of the realm his father Rhaegar coveted, the city where his adopted father Ned nearly lost his head. Ghost, his great white direwolf, pads at his side, silent and vigilant. Stannis Baratheon approaches, his jaw set in that perpetual hard line. His armor is black and bright with the red heart and stag, but Jon notices Stannis' men have stitched tiny dragon emblems on their sleeves now, a concession of their new alliance. Stannis stops at Jon's shoulder, surveying the field.
It will come to battle today. The Golden Company will try the walls, or try us. Either way, the Lannisters may attempt to sally while we're distracted.
Jon nods. He's learned much from Stannis in the short weeks of travel. The man speaks little but expects much, and Jon, for his part, understands that Stannis has given up the crown for the sake of a law and legitimacy. The sacrifice is not lost on him.
If battle begins, we should meet at the Golden Company first. Treat them as foes unless they prove otherwise. We can't allow them to flank us or join with the Lannisters.
Agreed. Tarly's van will intercept if they advance our flank. The Reach's horse against their sellswords. They say they have a Targaryen with them.
Jon's mouth twists. He's heard the rumors through the camp, exchanged in hushed tones. Another Targaryen, Aegon, son of Rhaegar and Arya, a boy supposedly murdered as an infant. Could it be true? In his heart, Jon doesn't want to believe it. How many secret heirs can one war carry?
If he is who he claims, he's my cousin, and he's been in exile, unknown to any of us.
Exile or no, if he turns his sword against us, he's a traitor, no different than the Blackfire Rebellion. Beware, murmurs dragons, Lord Snow. They come with pretty words and bright banners, but often hollow claims.
Jon feels the weight of the truth supporting his own claim. The annulment record from the Citadel Olenna Tyrell provided, the first-hand testimony of his own father, Ned Stark, the quietly growing chorus of lords swayed by the honor of the Starks and the power of the Tyrell host behind him. Compared to that, this Aegon has only a sellsword army and a famous name. And yet,
if he truly is Rhaegar's son, he has a claim better than mine.
He has no proof. No great lord or maester stands for him. Until he shows the realm something more than a sellsword's word, your claim stands as the only one blessed by law.
Jon falls silent, troubled. Ghost presses his nose into Jon's gauntlet hand, sensing his unease. Before he can reply, he hears the sound of hooves racing towards him. He turns to see someone he never expected. Ned Stark.
Father, what are you doing here?
Jon, it's good to see you. You look great in that armor and cloak. No, I bring grim news. At the Fist of the First Men, we saw them. The others are no tale. Hundreds of men fell, and rose again, with eyes like blue fire. The wall will not hold forever. Not against that.
Jon listens in stricken silence, the memory of cold oaths at the wall rushing back. Stannis' jaw works, but he nods, accepting what he already half believed from Melisandre's fires.
Then this war for the throne is but a prelude. We take the city now, or there'll be no realm left to defend when the snow comes. Yes, we must win here and unite the realm. The fate of the realm depends on your victory, Jon.
Jon glances between them, and for the first time he feels his crown press heavier than any helm. Just then, the trio hear horns sound across the field, a booming call from the east. They turn sharply. Over the rise, the Golden Company's forces are on the move. Ranks of spearmen with golden skulls on their shields advance in disciplined blocks. Mounted Valentine knights trot out on the flanks, and lumbering forward come a handful of elephants, trumpeting and shaking armored tusks, a sight nearly as unbelievable as dragons in the sky. Stannis' mouth falls open a fraction at the war elephants. He quickly snaps it shut.
Tarly must meet them now, away from our main lines. I will not have elephants crushing into my infantry.
Already the southern host is responding. Lord Tarly's banner, the striding huntsman, moves as his seasoned troops form a wing to face the Golden Company. The Reach's knights lower lances and archers notch arrows. Yet before the first arrows fly, a new sound rends the air, a piercing, indescribable shriek from above. All eyes lift to the sky. A shadow sweeps over the battlefield. Drogon. The black drake streaks over the city walls, emerging from behind the red keep, driving low over the lion gate. Archers atop the gate loose a hasty volley of arrows that clatter off the dragon's scale armor. Drogon responds with a stream of fire that engulfs the gatehouse in greenish-orange flame. Men on the battlements scatter like panicked ants. Gasps and cries ring out from all sides. A dragon, a living dragon, in the flesh above King's Landing. No rumor now, but terrifying reality. Within moments, 2 more winged shapes sail into view, Rhaegal and Viserion. But something strange happens. They peel away from Drogon, veering wide in opposite directions. One, jade green Rhaegal, heads east toward the Golden Company's lines, drawn by something, or someone, below. The other, ivory gold, Viserion, circles toward the southern camp of Stannis and Tyrell banners. In the Baratheon command post, soldiers cry out and point. Jon's heart hammers in his chest as the pale green dragon swoops near. He can feel a thrum in his blood, and some old instinct kindling. Ghost bares his teeth, but stays at Jon's side. Marjorie Tyrell, standing not far behind with her grandmother Olenna, lets out a soft gasp at the sight. Sir Davos Seaworth hurries over to Stannis, eyes wide as any sailor's at seeing a fabled sea monster.
By the 7, 3 of them.
Daenerys. It must be. The Targaryen girl with her beasts.
Jon doesn't hear them. His attention is riveted on the smaller, cream-colored dragon gliding low above the camp. The beast's golden eyes seem fixed on him, and to Jon's wonder, the dragon descends, back-winged to land with a heavy thud not 20 yards away, crushing a pavilion under its claws. Men scatter, horses rear in terror, but the dragon does not spew flame. It stretches its long neck out, sniffing the air, then emitting a rumbling chirrup that Jon can only describe as curious. Shakily, Jon steps forward, one hand raised open in a placating gesture. His heart is pounding against his ribs. He remembers tales old Nan told of Valyrian dragon lords and their mounts, how the dragon chose their rider as much as the rider chose the dragon.
Easy now.
The dragon, Viserion, he recalls from rumors, is close enough that Jon can see each scale. Pearlescent and shimmering, the beast huffs, blasts of hot breaths steaming in the cold morning air. Ghost creeps forward at Jon's heel, belly low but fearless. Behind Jon, archers shakily aim at the dragon.
Don't shoot! Hold!
Marjorie Tyrell's clear voice cuts through the chaos. The archers hold, though nervously. Jon gives her a grateful, astonished look, then turns back to the dragon. Viserion's great head swings side to side, scanning the arrayed soldiers, but repeatedly coming back to Jon, almost expectantly. Jon takes another step. He can't explain why, but an urge grips him to touch the creature, to show he is not afraid. Perhaps it senses the Targaryen blood in him. Perhaps some magic of the blood of the dragon flows through his veins at this moment. His gloved hand reaches out and presses against the warm scales of Viserion's snout. The dragon makes a low, rolling coo, and lowers itself slightly, as if bowing. Awe washes through the assembled host. Jon Snow stands before a kneeling dragon, hand on his snout like some long-lost dragon lord of Valyria. In that same heartbeat to the east, a mirror to this moment, on the fields near the Golden Company, the green dragon Rhaegal dives toward a lone figure on horseback at the head of the mercenary lines. Aegon Targaryen stares upward, stunned as the beast lands amidst his men. Sellswords scatter in the fright. One elephant bulges and bolts, throwing its rider, but Rhaegal, eyes like molten bronze, steps with ponderous grace towards Aegon. Jon Connington shouts in alarm and moves to protect his prince, but Aegon holds up his hand to halt him. Aegon swings down from his horse, approaches the green dragon as much as Jon did with the white. He feels the pull too, the hot rush in his blood calling out to the dragon's own. Rhaegal was named for Rhaegar. Perhaps he senses his namesake's son now.
Rhaegal, I'm here.
His voice cracks with emotion. Slowly he touches the dragon's neck, just below a scalloped frill. Rhaegal rumbles, a deep, contended sound. The sellswords gasp in astonishment. Some drop to a knee, hailing their Targaryen commander now truly as Dragonlord. Aegon's mount whinnies and flees, but Aegon himself stands firm, tears glinting in his eyes from the fierce wind of Rhaegal's breath. Back at the southern lines, Stannis Baratheon watches Jon's impossible bonding with Viserion unfold. He grits his teeth, swallowing shock with a dose of bitter acceptance.
King's blood. Perhaps Melisandre was not entirely wrong.
He recalls her murmurings of prophetic visions, a 3-headed dragon, a convergence of kings he had assumed allegory. Now it quite literally unfolds before him. For the Lannisters, however, the appearance of dragons only breeds chaos and terror. On the walls, men cower, pointing to the beasts. In the Red Keep, Cersei Lannister quails behind a curtain as she spies Drogon, largest of the three, coming to rest atop the ruins of the smoldering Lion Gate. Joffrey has to be physically dragged inside with a hound, as he shrieks about shooting the monsters full of bolts. Tywin himself stands in the yard shouting for the Scorpions, the massive anti-dragon crossbows, to be brought to the battlements. Only a few were built after whispers of Dany's dragons reached the capital, and now they scramble to deploy them. Amidst the confusion, Tyrion Lannister finds himself oddly calm. The imp slips through a side door onto a balcony with a view of the bay. He saw those mystery ships in the night and guessed at their meaning. Now, with dragons in the sky and the three claimants at the walls, Tyrion knows the game is nearly done, and not in his family's favor. Tywin's defense is faltering by the second, and any moment one of those colossal beasts could turn the Red Keep into a pyre.
So much for all the wildfire, father. Even green flames cannot match dragon fire.
He says it to no one, a dry quip lost on the wind, yet the mention of wildfire sparks a thought. Tyrion's mismatched eyes widen. Wildfire. There Cash is still under the city, Aerys' old stock. If father grows desperate enough... Tyrion curses and rushes back inside, heart pounding not from fear of dragons, but of his sister and father's potential madness. He shoulders past panicked servants and gold cloaks until he finds the entry to the alchemist's vault beneath the Tower of the Hand. Sure enough, two torch-wielding pyromancers are huddled there, flanked by Lannister guards.
What orders were you given?
Lord Hand.
Lord Tywin, he said, if the gates fall, if the city is taken, we're to ignite the caches under the streets. Burn them all if we must.
The blood drains from Tyrion's face. If the city is taken, Tywin means to leave only ashes for his enemies. He pictures wildfire coursing through the city's veins, exploding under soldiers and small folk alike, and dragons above to set it all off. A vision of hell.
No, that cannot be allowed.
He turns on the guards, understanding time is of the essence.
You, go to Lord Tywin. Tell him the plan is in motion. My lord, go, you witless ironhead, now!
The guardsman scurries off. Tyrion faces the pyromancers, drawing a deep breath.
Listen carefully. We are countermanding Lord Tywin's order. There will be no wildfire. I want every last jar under the Red Keep and Flea Bottom taken out to the bay. Do it quietly if you can.
The robed alchemists share a nervous glance.
But, Prince, pardon, my lord. If we disobey the Hand...
Tyrion steps forward, looking up to the man's eyes fiercely despite barely reaching his chest.
If you don't obey me, you'll die. If you do obey me, you might live to see another sunrise, because I guarantee those dragons will ignite your wildfire stores by accident if you leave them, and then we're all ash. Is that what you want?
The pyromancers blanch, shaking their heads fervently.
Then do as I say. No wildfire in the city. Not today.
They gather their robes and hurry off deeper into the vaults to secure the deadly substance. Tyrion exhales. He knows he may have just signed his father's death warrant in the long run, but better Tywin dead than King's Landing reduced to a funeral pyre with thousands burning. Outside, a strange stalemate has fallen. The dragons have chosen their riders, or at least approached them, and all forces seemed too stunned to move first. From the Golden Company ranks, a trumpet sounds a call for parley, and from the southern host, another horn answers. Under a ripped Targaryen banner halfway between the camps, the champions of each side meet amidst the trampled grass. Ned Stark swings down from a shaggy gray horse, clad in the black of the Night's Watch, marked only by a simple cloak of wolf fur over his shoulders. The Black brothers accompanying him hold aloft a weirwood white peace banner.
We come under the banner of truce. Who will speak for each side?
Stannis Baratheon, rigid in his armor, steps forward to represent the Baratheon-Tyrell alliance. Jon Snow dismounts beside him, Ghost at his heels. More people stare at the direwolf than at Jon, still marveling that a man and wolf walk away unscathed from a dragon's side. From the Golden Company side, Aegon Targaryen approaches on foot, flanked by Jon Connington and Harry Strickland. Aegon's silver hair, dyed a subtle blue, has come unbound in the frenzy. He pushes it from his violet eyes, which lock onto Jon with open suspicion and challenge. Last comes Daenerys Targaryen, emerging with Ser Barristan from a side gate of the city that her small party slipped through. She strides to the parley in a suit of scaled armor, the color of dusk and dawn, with Drogon circling overhead like a guardian shadow. Gasps ripple through the soldiers and small folk watching from the walls. She looks every inch a warrior queen, silver hair flowing, a sword at her hip, and a dragon silhouette trailing her. The four converge, the stag and the rose, the young wolf dragon, the murmurs dragon, and the mother of dragons. Standing between them is Ned Stark. For a heartbeat, none speak. They regard each other in the dawnlight, each measuring the others. The air hums with tension. Above, Drogon gives a grating hiss as he lands on a nearby crumbling tower, smoke curling from his maw. Farther afield, Viserion and Rhaegal remain where they last settled, as if awaiting commands. One near Jon's encampment, and one near Aegon's. It is Ned Stark who finally breaks the silence.
We are met to prevent slaughter.
His voice is steady, carrying over the frosted grass. He turns first to Stannis.
Lord Stannis, you have honored my call for peace. You have shown yourself a man of law.
Stannis inclines his head stiffly. Next, Ned faces Daenerys, and in that moment, all can see how much older he is than her, how haunted. This is a man who helped overthrow her father's throne, who at one time would have been her mortal foe. Dany's violet eyes fix on him warily.
Daenerys Stormborn, we have not met. I knew your brother Rhaegar, and I fought against your father.
And helped slay him.
Yes.
A beat passes between them. Barristan's gloved hand hovers near his sword, unsure of the Stark's intent, but Dany tilts her chin up.
Yet here you are now, speaking for peace. Why?
Because I swore an oath to protect the realm. Because too many have died already for thrones.
He looks to Aegon and then Jon, his gray eyes heavy with a father's concern.
And because two of those fighting are my kin.
Your kin? You speak of this Snow, I presume. Your bastard.
Jon flushes but holds his tongue. Ned lifts his head.
Jon Snow. Jon Targaryen is my sister's son. Rhaegar and Lyanna's blood. He was entrusted to me as a babe. I raised him as my own to keep him safe from those who would have seen him killed. Namely King Robert. May he rest in his grave.
Daenerys' eyes widen slightly at that revelation, though she had heard whispers. Still, hearing it confirmed by Eddard Stark himself carries weight. Aegon's lips curl in doubt.
A likely story, all conveniently revealed now that the realm is in chaos. I see a Stark grasping for influence, nothing more. How do we know this Jon is not just a Blackwater pretender propped up by Tyrell and Baratheon forces?
Before Jon can retort, Ned steps forward, pulling a scroll from his belt. He holds it out.
This is a transcription from the High Septim's private records, obtained from the Citadel by agents of Highgarden. It details Prince Rhaegar's annulment of his marriage to Elia Martell and his subsequent wedding to Lyanna Stark. It bears the date and the witnesses. In addition, I have here signed testimonies from men who were at the Tower of Joy when Jon was born. Lord Howland Reed, still living, and the late Sir Arthur Danes, squire.
He nods to Stannis, who steps forward and produces another crisp parchment with royal Baratheon seals.
Furthermore, the Lord of the Stormlands in Dragonstone, and by right Robert's heir until recently, I, Stannis Baratheon, hereby attest that Joffrey Baratheon and his siblings are bastards born of incest, and have no claim to the Iron Throne. The throne by law reverts to the last lawful Targaryen heir, Rhaegar's issue. That is either Jon or Prince Aegon, if he lives.
He says the last bit grudgingly, casting a skeptical glance at Aegon. Stannis has clearly nailed his colors to Jon's mast. Daenerys processes this flood of information. Rhaegar's secret marriage, a living nephew raised by Ned Stark, and now a possible living other nephew, Aegon, standing before her. It's almost too much to take in. Her heart aches, hearing of Rhaegar, the brother she never knew well but always idolized, and Lyanna Stark, the woman who lit the spark of war.
My brother Rhaegar's son, and Rhaegar's other son. All these years hidden away. If this is true, why did you never reveal him, Stark?
Because as I said, Robert Baratheon would have murdered Jon on the spot. He hated Targaryens, all of them. He sent assassins after you as well, your grace. When you were but a child across the sea, I would not have Lyanna's son meet the same fate.
Dany remembers those attempts on her life well. The wine merchant in Vastothrak, the hired knives. Her anger at Robert's memory cools a fraction towards Ned. He truly might have saved her nephew's life. Aegon, however, remains unconvinced. He steps forward, meeting Ned's gaze boldly.
I was also hidden for the same reason, Robert's assassins. But I have proof of who I am. Men who knew me as a babe raised me.
Lords in Westeros remember Aegon Targaryen's birthmark, the shape of a dragon on my skin. He pulls back a sleeve to show a faint red birthmark on his inner arm. Connington here held me as a child. Will you name me Pretender and have that boy your kin simply because one of you has papers and the other does not?
Prince Aegon, if you truly are him, then we are kin as well. We do not need be enemies.
Aegon's eyes flicked a ghost at Jon's side, to the direwolf's unblinking red stare.
My father was promised the throne. I was raised to reclaim it.
I did not cross the world with my father's friends in the Golden Company to bend the knee to a snow, no matter what papers he carries. Jon bristles at the jibe, but Ned raises a hand to still him. The Lord of Winterfell, no, the Black Brother now, surveys all assembled. His next words come measured and strong, carrying over the cold air.
Hear me, all of you. If we spill Targaryen blood here, if the dragon fights dragon for the right to a chair of swords, then we all lose. The realm loses. The Seven Kingdoms have one true enemy now. Winter itself, and what comes with it. I have seen the gathering darkness beyond the wall. An army of the dead, with cold blue eyes. The Night's Watch prepares, but we cannot stand alone. The realm must be united, under one banner, one house, if humanity is to survive the coming cold.
His words draw puzzled looks from some. Aegon and Daenerys exchanged confused glances. Talk of the dead sounds like riddles. Dany's expression shifts. She remembers Miri Mazdur's eerie words and the uneasy dreams she had of a black presence in the far north. Ned continues, voice gaining passion.
House Targaryen was once the strength and unity of this realm. With their dragons, they held the Seven Kingdoms together for centuries. If you three fight each other now, when at last the dragons have returned, you will only destroy each other and leave a broken realm for the winter to swallow.
He turns to Daenerys, and there is a surprising softness in his eyes.
Daenerys Stormborn, you were the daughter of King Aerys. The Iron Throne was yours by lineage after Rhaegar's children, after Rhaegar himself died. You have brought fire and life back into the world with your dragons. The realm is in your debt for that.
Dany's throat tightens. She did not expect praise from this stern Northman. He faces Aegon.
Prince Aegon, if you are true, you are Rhaegar's heir. Your claim by birthright is strong, and you have brave men willing to die for you. You have survived horrors and kept your followers' loyalty. That speaks to your merit.
Aegon holds his head high, some of his defensiveness easing at Ned's even-handed recognition. Finally, Ned places a hand on Jon's shoulder.
Jon, you are my blood, and Lyanna's last gift to me. You carry Targaryen blood and Stark honor both. By law, with these proofs, your claim might be seen as the most rightful to the throne, as Rhaegar's true-born son and the choice of the great houses now in rebellion against the Lannisters.
Jon's dark eyes meet Ned's, full emotion. He hadn't expected his father, the only father he'd known, to stand here endorsing him as king. But Ned's purpose isn't flattery or ambition. Jon can hear it in his tone. It's duty. Ned steps back, addressing all of them.
Each of you has a piece of what it takes to save Westeros. Daenerys has her Unsullied, her dragons, and a Targaryen name which inspires the East. Aegon has a loyal army and the blood of the Dragon Lords from old. Jon has the backing of the great houses that want just rule returned in proof that satisfies the laws of gods and men. Separately, you would tear the realm apart, fighting over a throne. Together you can sweep aside the Lannisters and be the three-headed dragon that will restore your house and guard the realms of men.
There is silence. The phrase, 3 heads of the dragon, hangs in the frosty air. Dany's eyes widen slightly. She remembers the prophecy of the House of the Undying. The dragon has 3 heads. She had thought perhaps it meant the 3 dragons she had, or that she needed 2 others of royal blood to ride them. Here before her stand 2 candidates, each with Targaryen blood.
What exactly do you propose, Lord Stark?
A compromise. A union. Let Jon be king on the Iron Throne. His claim is proven and backed by the Reach and by Lord Stannis' honor. Let Daenerys and Aegon set aside any enmity and join their lines through a marriage.
Aegon and Dany both straighten, taken aback. They study one another anew. Dany knows that Aegon, if true, is her nephew by blood, though near her age. Among Targaryens, such a marriage of kin is hardly unusual. It would unite the surviving Targaryen branches, the son of Rhaegar and the daughter of Aerys. Aegon's initial surprise shifts towards contemplation, a marriage with Daenerys. Together, they would indeed be formidable. He glances towards Rhaegal in the distance and Drogon above, then back to Dany. She is beautiful and fierce, and clearly beloved by her followers, if she made it this far. There are worse fates than wedding the mother of dragons. Ned continues.
Prince Aegon and Princess Daenerys wed and take up residence as Prince and Princess of Dragonstone, the Targaryens' ancestral seat and traditional title for their heir to their throne. With the true-born Targaryen king in King's Landing, Jon, and Targaryen prince and princess holding Dragonstone, House Targaryen will rule united, not divided. 3 heads of the dragon, as in Aegon the Conqueror's day.
He pauses, letting it sink in. Marjorie Tyrell steps forward now, voice gentle but clear.
My lords and lady, Highgarden supports this proposal. We in the Reach have no wish to see the last Targaryens destroy one another. The Tyrells would be honored to see House Targaryen restored, and bound to us in friendship. I am betrothed to Jon Snow, Jon Targaryen as we call him, and through that bond, the Reach already commits itself to the new dynasty.
Daenerys blinks in surprise. The Rose of Highgarden, the woman who is to be Queen of Westeros, already to the late Renly Baratheon, now pledges to stand by a Targaryen restoration. Dany notes the confidence and warmth in Marjorie's face. An ally, not a rival, it seems. Aegon processes quickly. If Marjorie weds Jon, the Tyrells are tied to Jon. If he, Aegon, weds Daenerys, he gets a Targaryen bride of pure blood and her dragons on his side. And if Jon accepts them as co-rulers in all but name, his path to influence is secure, even if he isn't king.
If I agree, I would become Prince of Dragonstone, recognized as a true Targaryen prince, with my aunt as my wife and my dragon at my side. And you, Jon, you would hold the Iron Throne. Would you truly have me by your side after all this, not cast me down as a threat later? I have no desire to cast anyone down. I wasn't raised to hold a crown. If by law and by the realm's need I take it, I will gladly acknowledge you as family, Aegon. I'll have need for your counsel, your experience in Essos, your supporters, and Daenerys.
He turns to his aunt, realizing only now how young she is, perhaps a year or 2 younger than himself, and how much she's achieved.
The 7 kingdoms would be safest with all of us working together. 3 dragons, 3 Targaryens. I would welcome you and Prince Aegon as the Wardens of the East, from Dragonstone to guard against any new threats, from without or within.
Dany studies Jon's face. He looks so much like Ned Stark, yet when she gazes closer, she sees a hint of Rhaegar's refined features too, softened by the North. His words are earnest, not barbed with ambition or flattery, and behind him stands the whole might of Westeros's south. Tyrells, Baratheon men, likely the North too, given Ned's presence. Opposition would be hopeless, and more, needless, if she can have what she truly wants. Her family's dynasty restored, her dragons alive and free, and a home in Westeros at long last.
If I agree, Jon Snow sits the Iron Throne with my support. In return, Aegon Targaryen, my kin, becomes my husband, and we rule Dragonstone, and perhaps one day our child could succeed to the throne after Jon's line. The Targaryens remain united, not at war.
Her voice grows stronger as she speaks, the prospect settling comfortably in her mind. It reminds her of stories of Queen Rhaenyra and Queen Visenya advising Aegon the Conqueror, 3 heads of the dragon united in rule.
And no one will ever again say House Targaryen is gone from Westeros.
A light kindles in her eyes. She extends a hand to Aegon. There is a regal confidence in the gesture that makes the onlookers catch a breath.
Nephew, shall we make a new dynasty together?
Aegon hesitates only a moment, pride and ambition warring with reason and opportunity. He had dreamed of being king, of entering the Red Keep victorious, but he also knows he dreamed of family, of belonging. His father Rhaegar's mistake was dividing his loyalties and leaving the realm in ruin. Aegon will not repeat that. He takes Daenerys' hand and kneels, pressing it to his forehead briefly in a gesture of fealty.
I came to take a throne. I find something better. A united house. I accept, Princess Daenerys. We will wed, and with you I will hold Dragonstone and serve our house's legacy.
A smile curves Dany's lips. She turns to Jon next.
And I swear this to you, Jon Targaryen. I will support your claim as king. You have proven yourself honorable. Not to mention you seem to have a way with my Viserion.
Jon actually chuckles, tension breaking. He inclines his head deeply.
Thank you, Aunt. And Aegon. Thank you, cousin.
It's done. The three would-be rivals have chosen alliance over war. A collective exhale seems to pass through all watching. Ned's shoulders sag with relief. Stannis Baratheon, standing by silently all this time, gives a curt nod of satisfaction. For him, this means his deal holds. He will have helped place the rightful king on the throne, with far less bloodshed than anticipated. Marjorie Tyrell beams brilliantly, already imagining the glory of a revitalized court with her as queen beside a just king, backed by dragons and heroes of legend. Olenna Tyrell, watching from her litter not far off, permits herself a rare grin and mutters to herself under her breath.
Well done, Eddard.
Now Ned addresses the matter of the Lannisters, the last impediment to peace.
Then we are of one mind. Together, we must see the removal of Tywin Lannister and his kin from the capital, and an end to this war.
They will not surrender easily.
They will have to surrender. They have no allies left, and they face this combined might of the rightful king. The Golden Company, the Reach, Storm's End, my host, and 3 dragons.
We should offer them terms of surrender, to avoid any more death in the city. If they refuse,
they won't get a second chance.
Stannis flexes the gauntleted fingers of his sword hand, stern and unyielding. Mercy is not his strong suit, but he respects Jon's inclination to at least offer terms. Ned volunteers at once.
I will ride to the gate and call for a parley with Lord Tywin. He may ignore any of you as traitors. He cannot ignore the Night's Watch, asking him to honor a peace that spares the innocent. Father, Uncle, you've risked enough coming south. This is my final task, Jon. Let me finish what we started. If I can save one life in that city by talking instead of fighting, I must.
No one can find argument against Eddard's honor, and so it is agreed. Ned will treat with Tywin one last time, under the banner of the Watch. Within the hour, a small delegation approaches the muddied gates of King's Landing. Ned Stark rides at the front, a black-cloaked ranger bearing the Watch's black and white peace flag beside him. Behind comes Tyrion Lannister, who emerged from the city by a sallyport, having had quite enough of his father's obstinance and volunteered to broker peace. And Sir Adam Marbrand, the sole representative of the Lannister forces still ostensibly in command. Atop the Barbican, Tywin Lannister stands flanked by crossbowmen and the Kingsguard. Joffrey peeks over a crenellation with hatred in his eyes. The tension is thick as frost. Ned calls up firmly.
Lord Tywin, I am Eddard Stark, come from the Night's Watch under a flag of truce to offer terms. Will you hear them? I see my dwarf son at your side. Is that my answer? You bring my traitor blood to the gates.
Charming as ever.
Tyrion steps forward before Ned can speak.
Father, listen to reason for once. The field is lost. Look, Highgarden, Storm's End, the Golden Company. They all stand together now, with dragons flying above them. We have no chance. What are your terms, Stark? Speak quickly before I change my mind and mount your head next to your father's in the crypt of Castamere. Surrender the city peacefully. Yield the Iron Throne to Jon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar. In exchange, clemency will be offered to the small folk and to any Lannister soldiers who lay down arms. There need be no sack, no blood. Clemency? And what of my family? What of King Joffrey?
At that, a ripple of anger passes the allied lines, many shouting that Joffrey is no king, bastard-born. Ned raises a hand to quiet them.
Joffrey and Tommen Baratheon and Myrcella too will be treated gently. They are but children. They will be shown mercy, in recognition that they were falsely set on the throne by those who knew better.
He looks pointedly at Cersei beside Tywin, then back to Tywin himself.
The new king will send them to live at Castle Rock under wardship of whomever remains as Lord or Lady Lannister. They will live, but renounce all claims. The crown will pass to the rightful dynasty.
Joffrey shrieks that he'd rather die than give his throne to a mongrel. The Hound pulls him back from the wall's edge, cursing under his breath. Tywin's eyes flick to his enraged grandson, then to his son Tyrion below. He sees the writing on the wall. It's been there since the dragons showed themselves. Perhaps even since the moment the Tyrells turned cloak. Tywin Lannister has never been one to live in denial. Pride is one thing, annihilation another.
Marjorie Tyrell marries this Jon, I take it. and I suppose the Tyrells expect to keep their claws in the royal coffers. Father, really, at this point, the Tyrell alliance is sealed by marriage, yes. As for Castle Rock, Tyrion Lannister shall assume lordship of the rock.
Gasps and murmurs come from the walls, wide eyes from Tyrion himself. Cersei protests.
That's the condition. Lord Tyrion has acted to protect the city from destruction this day, at great personal risk. He is judged to have the realm's best interests at heart, more than those who led it to folly. And he is Tywin's rightful heir now, with Sir Jaime sworn to the Kingsguard, and you, Lady Cersei, found complicit in high treason and incest.
Ned had learned quickly from Tyrion about this thwarting of the wildfire plot, and does not bother to soften that accusation. Cersei's face contorts with fury and fear, but before she can spit venom, Tywin speaks, and his voice sounds suddenly wary, the weight of defeat bowing him.
If I refuse these terms, the city will burn or fall by force regardless. Many will die, including perhaps my last son.
He gazes at Tyrion, and for the first time in Tyrion's life, there is something almost like regret in his father's eyes.
If I accept, I lose the throne, but keep my house alive.
That is the choice, my lord. One last thing. You yourself must surrender and face judgment for your crimes in starting this war and executing innocents. King Jon may be merciful, given your cooperation now. Perhaps you will take the black and live out your days in honorable service, but that is for his grace to decide.
There is a ringing silence. Tywin Lannister stands unmoving on the wall. Below, thousands hold their breath. Finally, the Lion of Castle Rock closes his eyes. He has survived rebellions, outlived kings, built and rebuilt the glory of his house, but this foe he cannot defeat. Fire made flesh, and Eddard Stark alive against all odds, wagging a finger of judgment. Tywin's mouth sets in a grim line.
Open the gates.
Those on the battlements gape. Joffrey screams for him to kill them all. He commands it. Cersei seizes Joffrey, slapping a hand over his mouth. Her green eyes burn with tears of rage and humiliation, but she too sees there is no other end to this. The orders are given. With a groan and rattle of chains, the great gates of King's Landing swing wide. The banners that emerge, raised by the City Watch, now under command of Tyrion's allies within, are white with red lions laid down. The Lannister lions prostrate in surrender. A great roar rises from the allied host outside. Within the city, sobs of relief and cries of fury blend, as the populace realizes a siege is won without a bloodbath. Stannis Baratheon wastes no time. He marshals a detachment of disciplined Baratheon knights and marcher lords to ride at the front, ensuring no unruly soldier breaks discipline to loot. The Tyrell lords do the same with their troops. Randyll Tarly in particular supervises, sword drawn for any who disobey the terms of surrender. Through the gate rides Jon Snow, Jon Targaryen, flanked by Davos Seaworth bearing the banner of the Crowned Dragon, and Brienne of Tarth carrying the direwolf of House Stark. Ghost pads beside Jon's horse, eliciting gasps from the small folk pressed along the streets. Behind him followed the combined procession, Daenerys and Aegon on horseback side by side, the silver-haired Targaryen royals with their own banners, and the shrieks of Drogon overhead to herald them. Marjorie Tyrell in a wheelhouse not far, already being cheered by townsfolk who know her beauty and generosity from her time betrothed to the late Renly, and Stannis Baratheon, grim and solemn, leading the nobility of the march, his new Hand of the King chain of office already heavy around his neck. Jon insisted, and Stannis accepted the duty, jaw clenched but eyes resolved. Ned Stark rides with the Night's Watch contingent, black cloak flapping, but he splits from the main column to oversee the surrender of the remaining Lannister forces. As the procession winds towards the Red Keep, Tywin Lannister walks out under guard to kneel before Jon Snow, who has dismounted before the throne room entrance. Tywin's face is a mask, the last of his pride keeping it from crumbling, but his eyes betray humiliation and simmering defeat. He starts to remove his sword belt to offer it in surrender, but Tyrion steps forward.
Allow me, father.
Tywin hesitates, then nods once. Tyrion unbuckles his father's gilded sword belt, taking the great sword, bright roar from Tywin's waist. The imp holds the sword almost reverently.
I'll see this return to Castle Rock's armory, for our house's future.
Tywin meets his son's hidiochromatic eyes, and perhaps for the first time in his life, he finds no words. He simply bows his head. Guards lead him away to await a formal trial or sentencing. A mere fortnight after the fall of King's Landing, the Red Keep stands adorned with the banners of the new Targaryen dynasty. In the throne room, lords and ladies crowd in anticipation. The Iron Throne has been polished and draped with the Stark direwolf and Targaryen dragon sigils united as one. Jon Snow, Jon Targaryen, walks forward under the high vaults, clad in black and red armor. His betrothed, Margaery Tyrell, accompanies him in a gown embroidered with roses and dragons, a symbol of the alliance binding reach and crown. To the sides stand Daenerys Targaryen and Aegon Targaryen, each in rich Valyrian steel armor, representing the reborn House Targaryen's other two heads. Sir Davos Seaworth holds a velvet pillow bearing a simple iron crown, and a Grand Maester Samwell Tarly waits to place it upon Jon's brow. This is the moment of triumph hard won from war. The hall hums with excitement. A great new reign is about to begin. But just as Samwell opens a scroll to proclaim Jon the King, the doors to the throne room fly open with a resounding boom. A black brother of the Night's Watch staggers in, mud and blood spattering his cloak. He pushes past astonished guards and falls to his knees before the assembly, gasping for breath.
Your Grace, the wall is under attack.
A shocked silence falls. Jon steps forward immediately, helping the man stand.
So the dead have finally come. Yes, the dead, Your Grace. An army of whites, tens of thousands. They fell upon the wildling host beyond the wall, slaughtered them to the last. Their corpses rose up again as part of the dead's army. Now they march south. They may have reached Eastwatch or Castle Black by now.
The court erupts into startled cries and murmurs. Many have not believed the tales of the White Walkers until this very moment. Daenerys' eyes widen in horror, remembering Ned Stark's warnings. Aegon runs a hand through his hair, looking to Jon. Margaery clutches Jon's arm, steadying him even as her own face drains of color. Stannis Baratheon steps forward, jaw clenched and voice firm.
Time has come. The true war. We must rally every man and woman. The new crown means nothing if we cannot defend the realm from this enemy. Lord Tyrion, see that Joffrey and his kin are secured. They are the least of our concerns now. Lord Stannis, ready your banners. Lady Daenerys.
The dragons and I will fly at first light. Viserion and Rhaegar will carry Jon and Aegon north ahead of the host. Drogon will bear me. We will not let the wall fall without a fight.
The Night's Watch will stand with you. We few who remain.
Ned Stark has stepped forward from where he kept a vigilant watch at the edge of the hall. Though tired and graying, his presence stills the panicked crowd. He looks to Jon, his eyes full of quiet pride of a father and the solemn understanding of a man who always knew this day would come. Jon meets his gaze and bows his head in respect and gratitude.
Then we have no time to waste. My lords, my ladies, the coronation will wait. Westeros will have a king crowned in war, or none at all. Father, send word to Robb. He must ready the defenses to be ready for our arrival.
Ned nods and gets to work. Without further ceremony, the gathered nobles disperse to make feverish preparations. Ravens fly in all directions, summoning allies from every corner of the realm. The united armies of Westeros, now one host under the banner of the dragon and direwolf, prepare to march to the north, to the wall. Beneath the sky, the color of bruise and ash, 3 dragons soar over the snowy lands beyond the wall. Jon crouches on Viserion's back, wind howling around him as they race toward the smoking remains of Eastwatch by the sea. Beside them, in the sky, Aegon clings to Rhaegal's scaled neck, and Daenerys flies slightly ahead on Drogon, her hair streaming silver white behind her. It has taken only 2 days of hard flying from King's Landing to reach the wall, 2 days in which the world has turned to winter. Below, the once blue waters of the bay of seals are choked with ice. Snow swirls in punishing gusts, nearly blinding the dragon riders as they descend. They see the breach immediately. A massive rent has been torn through the eastern gate of the wall where the Eastwatch stood. The fortress by the sea is a ruin of shattered ice and scorched wood. It appears the defenders put it to torch before being overrun, and beyond the wall, pouring through the gap in the unending tide, comes the army of the dead. Thousands upon thousands of skeletal figures and rotting corpses march south, leaving black footprints on the fresh fallen snow. Leading them is an icy figure astride an undead giant bear, the Night King, pale crystal spear raised high as he spurs the horde onward. Daenerys screams a command. Drogon dives. The 3 dragons spit fire and strafe the undead ranks with gouts of flame. Great plumes of orange flame blossom around the base of the wall as whites by the hundreds are incinerated. Jon guides Viserion low, blasting a line of whites that were scaling over the fallen rubble. Aegon and Rhaegal bathe the ruined Eastwatch courtyard in dragonfire, giving a cluster of surviving men in black cloaks a chance to flee. Bones crack and explode under the dragon's fury. It's slaughter, but the dead have no fear. They keep coming, climbing over the ashes of their fellows with blank, deathless resolve. With a thunderous roar, Drogon lands amid the snow, crushing dozens of wights underfoot. On his back, Daenerys swings down with a spear in hand, impaling a shrieking wight that lunges at her. Her unsullied guards, those she brought north in the fastest galley, leap from Drogon's flanks to form a protective ring around their queen. Jon spots a knot of black and gold banners at the tree line. The foremost elements of the allied Westerosi host arrived at last after hard riding. The Tyrell Rose and Baratheon Stag fly together, and through the snow wraiths, Jon watches as Golden Rose of Highgarden and Crowned Stag of Storm's End banners sweep in, the Knights of the Reach and Stormlands hammering into the undead flank. Grey Worm rallies the Unsullied with firm, shouted commands in Valyrian. Their spears hold firm, even as waves of dead crash against them. Behind them, the combined armies of the North pour in with war cries. Stark Direwolf and Mormont Bear banners cresting over ranks of roaring Northerners who came by forced march once the Ravens reached Winterfell. Aegon circles Rhaegal overhead, searching for the Night King. Suddenly, an icy spear hurtles upward from the battlefield, cast by the Night King's unnaturally strong arm. Aegon barely veers aside in time. The javelin grazes Rhaegal's wing, causing the green dragon to roar in pain and wheel off. Far below, perched atop a mound of corpses, the Night King lowers his arm and summons another spear into his grip by sorcery. Before he can throw, he's engulfed by dragonfire. Drogon's furnace-hot breath descends at Daenerys' command, bathing the other in flame. Dragonfire engulfs the Night King's position, yet when the flames die, the ancient other strides forth, unharmed, pale blue eyes burning with hateful mirth. Daenerys' heart clenches. Even dragonfire cannot kill this foe. Jon has seen enough. He brings Viserion to the ground with a mighty beat of the dragon's pale wings. Sliding off the saddle, he lands amidst a press of wights and immediately begins laying about him with Longclaw. Ghost, his great white direwolf, springs from nowhere to guard Jon's flank, tearing into an undead wildling with ferocity.
Viserion! Dracarys!
At his command, the cream-colored dragon unleashes a blast of fire to clear the immediate swath of battlefield around Jon. Charred skeletons collapse at the Night King's feet. Jon locks eyes with Ned Stark across the chaos. Ned is fighting alongside a ring of Night's Watch brothers and wildling free folk who manage to reach the fray. The old wolf's sword swings with grim precision, cutting down wight after wight, but the circle of the dead is tightening around them. Jon gestures urgently, and Viserion swoops toward Ned's embattled position, roasting the dead swarming his adoptive father. Ned looks up and gives Jon the smallest nod of thanks across the distance. United in purpose, they press on. Not far away, Aegon has dismounted from Rhaegal to rally a faltering line of mercenaries from the Golden Company, now fighting for the realm they once helped to conquer. He drives forward with them, wielding a Targaryen banner like a spear through the chest of a snarling ghoul. Aegon Targaryen's voice rings out, a prince's command that stiffens the wavering soldiers.
For Westeros! For the living!
The dead keep falling to dragonglass blades and brave steel, but for every dozen wight cut down, another dozen claw forward. The Night King's power is relentless. Every fallen human warrior is a potential new slave for his legion. In the heart of the battlefield, the Night King lifts his arms high, and with that fell motion, dozens of fallen on both sides shudder, then rise once more with glowing blue eyes. Fresh horror ripples through the living ranks as their own dead comrades stand up against them. Winter's chill deepens. Amidst that despair, a furious roar echoes, not from a dragon, but from a man. Stannis Baratheon, bleeding from a gash on his brow, raises the stag and heart banner where all can see it.
Stand and fight! Fight for life and light!
Inspired by the obstinate Baratheon, the living do not break. They tighten their lines, back to back, forming a great circle of shields and spears. Dragons wheel overhead, torching any wights too near. Yet inside that circle, near the very center, the king himself advances, determined to annihilate the new king of Westeros and extinguish the hope of men. He strides toward Jon, ice blade in hand. Jon sees his foe approach and steels himself. Longclaw's Valyrian steel glints back and red in the firelight. Ghost snarls, but Jon gives a soft command, and the direwolf, though reluctant, loops off to guard the wounded. This fight belongs to Jon.
Father, with me!
Without hesitation, Ned Stark breaks from a knot of fighting nearby and rushes to Jon's side. The adopted father and son stand shoulder to shoulder as the Night King closes in, flanked by two tall White Walkers with spears of their own. The other's inhuman, icy gaze flickers between Jon and Ned, as if deciding which to kill first.
No more little man can stop the dead.
His words roll through the frigid air, spoken in the old tongue of the first men, yet somehow Jon understands the meaning. Jon lifts Longclaw, his breath misting around him.
We'll see.
With unnatural speed, the Night King attacks. He swings his frozen blade at Jon, and their swords meet with a blast of sparks and a crack like a lightning strike. The impact nearly drives Jon to his knees. The other is far stronger than any human. Ned intercepts the next swing with his own sword, but the ancient ice blades shatter Ned's steel into a dozen shards. Undeterred, Ned draws a long dagger of dragon glass and slashes at the Night King's torso, forcing the enemy back a step. The two White Walker lieutenants dart in from the sides. One spears at Ned with a shard-tipped lance, and Ned barely parries with the remains of his sword hilt. The other Walker lunges for Jon, only to be tackled and torn apart by Ghost, who is bounded back into the fray unbidden. The direwolf's intervention gives Jon an opening. He plunges Longclaw through that Walker's chest. The ice creature lets out a shrill, unearthly shriek as its body disintegrates into 1,000 frozen fragments. Ned dispatches the second lieutenant with a quick throw of his dragonglass dagger, piercing its throat. But in that same moment, the Night King rams a hand forward and grabs Ned by the neck. Frost spreads over Ned's gorget as the enemy lifts him from the ground with monstrous strength. Ned gasps, the life literally being choked and frozen out of him, his breath escaping in frost crystals. Jon cries out in fury and hurls himself at the Night King, swinging Longclaw in a two-handed arc. The Valyrian blade shears clean through the Night King's armored arm, severing it at the elbow. The other staggers, dropping Ned to the ground. An unearthly roar erupts from the Night King. Rage, pain, and centuries of malice all concentrated into a sound that makes every living warrior on the field cringe. Jon does not waver. He pivots and brings Longclaw down in a savage strike, cleaving deep into the Night King's torso. The dragon steel finds its mark. The magic of the Valyrian steel meeting the dark sorcery of the Great Other. For one heartbeat, the Night King seems to stare into Jon's eyes with something like shock. Then his entire form cracks like glass. A web of bright blue fissures race across the Night King's body, and with a final hateful scream, he shatters into a storm of ice shards. The fragments blow away on the wind, dissolving into sparkling snow. Silence falls across the battlefield. One by one, every remaining wight collapses where it stood. The army of the dead is no more. Victory belongs to the living, but it has not come without cost. Jon rushes to Ned, who lies motionless on the blood-stained snow. Ned's face is as pale as the winter around them, but his eyes focus on Jon as the young man cradles him. The frost that rimmed Ned's beard is beginning to melt in the sudden warmth that accompanies the other's demise. Ghost whimpers softly at Ned's side.
Jon, you did it.
Jon shakes his head, tears carving hot trails down his sooty cheeks. He presses a hand to the mortal wound in Ned's torso, trying futilely to stem the blood.
We did it. Just hold on. We'll get a maester.
Ned gives the smallest ghost of a smile, stopping Jon's frantic words with a blood-stained hand on his son's cheek.
No, lad. My time has run its course, and I couldn't be prouder of you.
Jon's tears fall freely now. He clasps Ned's hand against his face. Around them, survivors begin to gather in hushed respect. Daenerys dismounts from Drogon and comes running. Aegon limps over, leaning on Rhaegal for support. Sir Davos and others approach carrying torches. All know they are witnessing the passing of a hero.
Father, please, you can't leave. Not after all this.
Ned's gray eyes, so like Jon's own, shine with love and peace.
The rest is up to you now, Jon. You are the shield that guards the realms of men, and the sword that leads them. Lyanna, your mother, she would be proud. Tell my girls I love them. Tell your little brother that I'm sorry I never returned. Please, stand by Robb and Catelyn.
Jon bows his head overcome. Ned's gaze drifts to something beyond Jon, perhaps a vision of the family who waited for him. He lets out a final whisper.
I kept my promise, Lyanna.
A tear escapes down his cheek as he musters his final strength. His hands slip from Jon's face with a final breath. Eddard Stark closes his eyes for the last time. Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen, sixth of his name, bows over his father's body and weeps. His anguished cry echoes across the silent, corpse-strewn field. The others gathered around lower their heads. In the distance, the first pale rays of dawn break over the horizon, bathing the wall and the blood-soaked snow in gentle gold. The long night has ended. The smell of spring rain mingles with incense in the great sept of Baelor, where the coronation of Jon Targaryen finally takes place. It is a full moon's turn since the Battle of the Dawn, and Westeros is already thawing from the grip of winter. Sunlight pours through the stained glass of the seven-pointed star above, painting the assembled crowd in hues of rose and gold. Jon kneels before the High Septim, who gently sets the ancient iron crown of Aegon the Conqueror upon his head.
Rise, Jon of House Targaryen, first of his name, protector of the realm, king of the Andals, of the Rhoynar, and the first men.
A resounding cheer erupts within the Sept's hollowed halls. Jon stands, regal in black and crimson robes, the crown resting on his brow. At his side, Queen Margaery beams with pride, one hand placed lightly over her belly. Already rumors whisper that she carries the next heir of ice and fire. In the front rows stand Daenerys and Aegon Targaryen. Dany wipes tears from her violet eyes, thinking how far she's come. From a frightened girl in exile to a warrior queen and savior of Westeros, now a beloved princess of Dragonstone. Beside her, Aegon applauds with the rest, a soft smile on his face. He squeezes Dany's hand, their fingers intertwined. Their own wedding is planned for the next moon's turn, a union that will secure House Targaryen's future for generations. Lord Tyrion Lannister, the new Hand of the King, a title Stannis relinquished having returned to his seat at Storm's End, stands off to one side of the dais. His mismatched eyes shine with satisfaction as he surveys the peaceful crowd. The Lion of Lannister is humbled but alive. Tyrion honored his promise to grant mercy. His father Tywin has been sent to live out his days at the Wall in the same order Ned once served, and he allowed his sister Cersei and her children to live quietly under guard at Castle Rock. It is a compromise, but one that brings much-needed peace. The realm's wounds are being healed. The weeks since the long night ended, spring crops have been planted in the Reach. The North has rallied around the Stark sigil once again. Lord Eddard Stark's remains have been interred in the crypts of Winterfell with highest honor, and his son Robb is declared the new Lord of Winterfell. Even Dorne has sent envoys pledging fealty to the new king. Jon takes Margaery's hand, and together they ascend the marble steps to the Iron Throne. Before he seats himself, he turns to face the gathered lords and ladies. His dark eyes find the towering statue of Baelor the Blessed, and at its feet, he imagines a man in a black cloak watching in proud silence. Ned Stark is not truly there, but Jon feels his father's presence in the warm rays of morning light, and in the very blood that flows in his veins. He remembers Ned's final words to him on the battleground. "You are the shield that guards the realms of men, and the sword that will lead them." Jon vows to live by those words. He sits on the Iron Throne, and Margaery stands beside him as his queen. The lords and ladies of Winterfell bow as one. In that shining moment, it is not a single house or a sigil that rules, but a realm united. The song of ice and fire has reached its final verse. A Targaryen with the soul of a Stark holds the throne, flanked by his dragon rider kin and supported by all the great houses. The last war is won. The dawn is broken, and a new spring blooms at last over the Seven Kingdoms. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you'd like to join us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.